Yo, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. Good to see you fine folks. As you're coming in, be sure to like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. I am going to be checking this thing out. We've had a good couple of days, man. We've had a good week. Just from a content creation, editing, having fun perspective, we've had a good gosh darn week. So let me go ahead and pull up the national anthem. I guess I should lead us in the morning prayer. So morning prayer is, well, actually, I'll wait for more people, I suppose. Tick, Talk, JD, Vance, Never Trump, Guy, Song. Happy Friday, nerds. We made it. We made it another glorious week. We have made it. Switching up the lighting again, I see. Not on purpose.
Trump chose as his running. So this is really who Donald Trump chose as his running mate?
Drop the beat.
I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I'm a never Trump guy. 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 I never liked him. I never liked him. I never racism. I'm a never Trump guy. Xenophobia. I'm a never Trump guy. Racism. I'm a never Trump guy. Xenophobia. I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I'm a never Trump guy. 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 I never liked him. I'm a never Trump guy. 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 I never liked him.
Oh, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to be here. Let's say the morning prayer. May your grill stay hot, may your beer stay cold, and may you keep all your fingers while blowing things up. Amen. Amen. I'm going to mess with this lighting in a second because I think this one's a little bright. Somebody said it's changing up the lighting again, I see. Not on purpose. I tell you what. Not on purpose. Not on purpose. Ugh. There we go. No idea what that looks like. Just know that it's not blinding me in my eyeballs anymore. Jen Winkler says, yo, Fashion 40 says, good morning, grill shala indeed. Happy Friday, nerds, indeed, Randy Chang. Damn, fuck these far-right palate cleansers. Why, man? What do you want, Christian Valeris? Tell me what you want. Tell me what you want. Is there a way to autoplay this at the beginning of the stream? Yeah, there is. I have to set up another scene on OBS. So what do you want, Christian Valeris? How can I best serve you today? What's the content that you want? Do you want Straighterade versus Hutch? Do you want me to do my my own do you want me to do my own content? Do you want me to review my own debate? Do you want me to, what do you want? Because it seems a little silly to me to have like something as big as two of the largest dissident right-wing commentators freak the fuck out and abandon Trump. Like two of his biggest, well, I mean, Nick Fuentes was never a Trump cultist, but he was still like one of his biggest dissident right-wing props. And then Alex Jones, obviously, has been one of the biggest dick suckers on the planet. At everyone live on Valor Media Network on YouTube. Be there or be what would you say? Or you'll get leprosy. There we go. That works. And if you can't go to YouTube and type in Valor Media Network into your fucking search bar, then fuck you. How about that? Oh, I've shit up the Discord with my philosoph speak for 24 hours. I'm having a damn ball. Good. Morning, everyone. The false springs struck back. Good. I never liked him. True. Constantine face in that new thumbnail is wild. Blame Danabo. Wasn't me. Is there a way to autoplay this at the beginning of the stream? Yep, just need to set up an OBS thing. Too many regulars, not enough likes. True, like the stream, it's free. Then share it with your friends, then engage with chat, then super chats if you got them, then memberships if you got them. Xena says, what's up? What's up, man? How you doing? Conserve says, 7th like reporting in. Remember, kids, live chat is better than top chat. That's an excellent point. Remind me every single day because I always forget to change it. Excuse me. Hedonic Samuel says, what's good, y'all? What's good? To accept and admit the Goonerism is the way. Yeah, we need to come up with a prayer for the Gooners. It's like, Lord... Wait, hold on. What's the serenity prayer? It's like, Lord, give me the... I'm going to write down the serenity prayer real quick. So, Lord, give me the strength. Lord, give me the strength to change the things I can. What is it? The peace, the patience to endure the things I can't. I don't know how it goes. And the wisdom to know the difference. So we need, Lord, grant me the strength to goon when I should, the patience to endure when I can't goon, and the wisdom to know the difference. Work on it. Yeah, Lord, grant me the strength to goon and the patience to endure the edging and the wisdom to know the difference. No way. Oh my God. I need my sticky notes. My sticky notes. Hey, Jeb Kush, that one is definitely a banned word. That first one in your most recent comment. Okay, so hold on. Let me write this down for the morning prayers. So hold on. We got two prayers. So may your grills stay hot, your beers stay cold, and may you keep all your fingers while blowing things up. Amen. And then what is it? Lord, give me the strength to goon, the patience to edge, and the wisdom to know the difference. Oh my God. Okay, I'm probably not saying that. Amen. Yeah, I'm not saying that every day. Okay, I'm not saying that every day. But I'll remind the Gooners, and then I will, like, I will say it often enough until a Gooner chaplain adopts the prayer. And then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to lead us in the morning girl hottest prayer. And then I'll say the girl hottest prayer. And then I'll be like, okay, Gooner chaplain, please lead the Gooners in their morning prayer. You vote for Rob's? Rob's what? Rob's Media? The drama channel? Rob Noor? Crashing out during a debate? What Rob? What Rob are we talking about? Oh my God, that's funny. Gunshallah. The Lord should be daddy. Daddy, grant me the strength to goon, the patience to edge, and the wisdom to know the difference. Dude, daddy takes that to the next level. As if it wasn't already crazy enough. That is crazy. That prayer goes so hard. All right. I'm writing it down. Calling God daddy. That is a next level. That is next level. Who be texting my phone? Who be texting my phone? Who be texting my phone? Da, 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 da. All right. Anyways. That's pretty funny. That's an interesting way to start the day. Let me go ahead and set the goal. $2 or higher. 10 super chats over 10 hours. Yeah, that'd be fine. 2 hours. We are doing Valor Reacts today at 1 p.m. So, bop, 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 bop. What's good, y'all? Nothing much. Oh, let me catch up with chat. To accept and admit that Goonerism is the way. No. Christian Vlaris wants me to meet and fall in love with a BB Latina immigrant. I mean, that's not a bad thing. Alex Jones finally abandoned Trump. No shit. Well, that's why I want to watch it. Did his broom break? Probably. I would die happy with a girlfriend who accepted my polycule with a baby Latina. BB Latina? Big booty Latina. There we go. She is liberal like myself, and we must save the deported. There you go. There you go. Connor, on your YouTube streams, do you select ultra low latency? I don't know. I don't know. Why? I goon every time she is out of the house. Jesus. The U.S. has lost 92,000 jobs in February. We're in the golden age. We're in the golden age. As an atheist, this is a great idea. Good. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There you go, Conserve. Thank you. To edge to the best of my ability, serenity now. Give me the stamina to edge, the money to sponsor my favorite e-girl, and the wisdom to know when I'm being scammed. Oh my God. It's honestly pathetic. Alex Jones looked like he was going to die when Nick told him that he's voting Democrat. Yeah. Lord, give me the strength to chase the tail I can, the patience to withstand the internet outages, and the wisdom to keep it in my pants. There you go. That's another version. That's another version. I like our version, but that's fine. I'm not a degen. I'm not a degen. I'm just saying this for you. Yeah, God is the father, so he's daddy. Rob, I like yours, but I'm not reading that. That is crazy. Yeah, Justin says, finally, mid-content, ready for my goy slap. Good, good. Okay, the lighting changed. Not on purpose, okay? I have the two lights right here. They're stream lights. They're hooked up to the desk. That way I can't knock them down. I didn't have my backlight on. I didn't have my overhead light on. And, you know, I might have accidentally, while I was moving around them, I might have flipped the brightness or flipped the warmth or whatever. So, yeah. Bud123 says, gooning? Screw that. These people need to do push-ups. Yeah. Do you think we'll get boots on the ground in Iran before or after the U.S. Civil War? Before, for sure. But I also think that the chances of Congress voting for a long-term ground invasion of Iran is pretty low. Justin for 2 says, top of the morning to you. Well, now we have to do dissident right-wing content. Patriarch says, right-wing content is incredibly boring. Can we not? Nope, we're doing it. Justin donated first. Justin donated first, and y'all need to get your fucking heads, out of the clouds, and you need to know your enemy. You must know thy enemy. Conserve says, Alex Jones just wants to pretend that he still wants to expose the elite. He doesn't want to become an accelerationist. Poor fella. Yep. Daddy, give me the money to goon, the patience to edge, and the wisdom to know when to stop. Stopping? You don't sound like a true gooner. You want to fuck on me? Yeah, but I'm saying you want to fuck on me with an Asian accent. It's from Old School. The classic 2008 alcoholic comedy buddy film where an Asian guy with a tire iron pops out of the trunk and starts beating people and screams, you want to fuck on me. Sapien Green with the 50 DKK says, so now you must need to record the prayer and link it to reply to donations. Yeah, but how would you differentiate between girl hottest and gooners? I could probably make the Gooner text-to-speech or the Gooner soundbite, I could make it a higher dollar level. I could make it like $20. That way the Gooners have to pay more. And then the girl hottest could just play like $5. That makes sense. I like this darker lit set. Good. Good. All right. It's leg day. Let's go. Yeah, see, Justin says, I suffer through the goy slop liberal drama. Yeah, why can't we be nice to our one dissident right-wing member? If he's willing to suffer, if he's willing to suffer through liberal bullshit, why can't we suffer through dissident right-wing bullshit every now and then? Political Sarah says, why not just promote people voting for Democrats? Obviously, having people switch their votes from R to D will motivate the Republican Party to reform its policies, processes to align towards the center. Because I also want to fight for a Republican Party that isn't completely fucking insane. Because there used to be... All right, you've inspired a mini rant, but I'll try to keep it brief. The lore of the Republican Party is fucking amazing. Do you understand the lore? Like the gameplay sucks, but do you understand the lore of the Republican Party is fucking amazing? So the lore is that in the 19th century, when it was unpopular to hate slavery, the Republicans were the first people with the balls to openly hate slavery in the legislature and were willing, through Abraham Lincoln, in order to fight the South in order to abolish slavery. And then they also carried through because they were the people pushing for Reconstruction in the late 19th century and early 20th century, despite it being unpopular. They had the balls to go against their own constituency and say, hey, morally, this thing's fucked up and we have to fix it. Then, in the early 20th century, they kind of fucked some shit up with some laissez-faire economics, let's be real. But also, we had heterodox Republicans like Teddy Roosevelt, who not only was a peace through strength unironically, like that wasn't just a catchphrase for him, but he was a peace through strength geopolitical leader. And then not just that, he also trust busted. So he wasn't the cock sleeve of corporations, he was the bane of corporations. Then in the middle 20th century, some of the most ardent Republicans on the planet were the most virulent anti-communists and cold warriors on the planet and did plenty of hardcore shit in order to fight international communism. And not just that, but Nixon did heterodox shit like starting the EPA. Now, he also, did a little bit of burglary, a little bit of sweeping for burglary, just a little conspiracy theory around burglary and spying on his enemies. But the EPA and having like a clear geopolitical vision for what the future of the world looked like is amazing. And if you actually watch Richard Nixon talk for an extended period of time, it's clear that he's brilliant. Then, not just that, but Reagan, despite being a former Democrat and somebody who was a part of the party switch from the 60s to the 80s, he was transformative in hybridizing fiscal conservatism, social conservatism, neoconservatism, and aggressive anti-communist militarism into a single conservative philosophy. And what I would say that his foreign policy, I'm going to rate like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. His social conservative takes, I'm going to grade on a 6 out of 10 because I think they were like unrealistic. And then his fiscal conservative policy, I'm going to rate a 0 out of 10 because his fiscal conservative policy was talk shit about welfare people, cut the social services, and then spend endless amounts of money on the military. Unfortunately, that set a precedent that the Republican Party has carried forward for decades now. Now, unfortunately, Bush wanted to be the spiritual successor to Reagan, and he really did want to get away from the Cold Warrior neoconservative militarism. But then 9/11 happened, so he basically flip-flopped to like a hardcore Republican neoconservative fusionist. And the Iraq War, while I think deposing Saddam Hussein was based, I think the Iraq War had like disastrous geopolitical consequences for the past 10 or 20 years. But I also think that we're starting to see the geopolitical consequences play all the way through to America and Israel's, to be clear, advantage. So You know, what? Am I supposed to fucking cry because we killed fucking Saddam Hussein and then the Iraqis weren't organized enough in order to have like a civil society that wasn't murdering each other for a decade? But now they are, and now they're working through it, and now they're charting their own destiny. Same thing with Syria. But I don't... Why am I supposed to be crying? I don't know why the fuck I'm supposed to be crying. And then same thing with Iran. I got people in my fucking on social media just bitching left, right, and center. Oh, we shouldn't be involved in Iran. Oh, we're killing so many people. Oh, we're spending so much money. Oh, we're doing this. Oh, we're doing that. And then I got an Iranian chatter who's like, fuck the Ayatollah. Fuck the regime. They killed all my friends. They slaughtered 40,000 of my countrymen. They fucking deserve to get airstrike to shit. Now, what scares me is the fact that we don't have in AUMF an authorization for use of military force or a declaration of war. That scares me because it feels like we're stepping further and further into dictatorial militarism. But, you know, once again, I'm not gonna cry over bombed Ayatollahs. It's just not gonna happen. So yeah, so we need to get the Republican Party back to, I don't know, if they're going to talk about fiscal conservatism, they actually need to be fiscally conservative. If they're going to talk about social conservatism, then they need to do something that's sane and in the middle instead of like freakish, theocratic, authoritarian bullshit that then they are constantly fall short of and are proven to be hypocrites on all the time. And then if we're going to have a neoconservative perspective where we actually are aggressive about defending republicanism and liberalism overseas, then we need to have a clear vision, and it needs to be done with the consent of the American people. And solidifying that as the actual core of the Republican Party versus just a Trump cult doing whatever the fuck it wants when it wants to, that's important. That's important. Let me make a disgusting noise, and then I'm going to keep going. Excuse me. Justin Zagroiper, he deserves to suffer. That may be true, but if he is nice enough to suffer with us, then we should be nice enough to suffer with him sometimes. God. Politics Sarah says the lore of the party also includes the Scottish strategy, which is rather fucked up. Oh, Southern strategy. Holy shit, I am going blind. The Republican Party is cooked. What made them who they were is now a democratic spirit. I mean, I agree with you there. How are we all doing today? Pretty good, RC. RC, you're not like a huge politics guy, I don't think, but you are a good friend of the channel, so I'm going to give you some mod powers. There you go. Everybody be nice to Justin. What were the job numbers? Minus 92,000. What's wrong with corporations, Connor? Nothing. They just shouldn't run society. Political Sarah says the lore of the Republican Party also includes union busting, worker disenfranchisement, and starting unnecessary wars in the Middle East. For sure. For sure. I agree. Definitely started a few things we couldn't finish. Didn't Nixon plan out nuclear fuel usage in order to make America fuel independent during the oil crisis? He sure did. Nixon was considering a damn UBI. Yeah, Nixon was heterodox as fuck. South Jersey, he's just only known for Watergate, which is really unfortunate. Trump makes Nixon, Reagan, and W look like the three wise men. Correct. Yes, and you are in the Discord discussing Destiny's sex life for the 5,000th day in a row. There you go. The military-industrial complex doesn't exist, and if it does, it's good. Correct. Correct. I say the military-industrial complex 100% exists, and it's good. Love me some military-industrial complex. But once again, I don't want the tail wagging the dog. So just because I like corporations and just because I like the military-industrial complex doesn't mean that I think they should dictate what our foreign policy or domestic and economic policy are. Have you ever listened to the Knowledge Right podcast Have you ever listened to the Knowledge Right podcast, breaks down Alex Jones' weekly stream and how he crafts conspiracies when one polls well, the GOP adopts it, lots of neo-Nazi guests? No. No, I don't. Politics Sarah says, name one good thing the Republican Party has done in the past 30 years. PEPFAR. And No Child Left Behind. So PEPFAR was obviously the program for HIV prevention in Africa. And it was viewed as our soft power our soft power reach out to Africa. And it arguably has saved 25 million people's lives through AIDS. From AIDS, excuse me. PEPFAR is pretty good. I would say the... what's the other good thing? I mean, that's pretty good. Saving 25 million people's lives internationally is pretty goddamn good. Then I'm trying to think of, like, obviously you're probably looking for shit that's related to, like, war or geopolitics. I would have to take a look at, like, when we added Eastern Europe into NATO. But whenever we added Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, whenever we added those people into NATO, that was probably good. That probably prevented them from being swallowed up by Russia again. There was also some heterodox shit that George Bush did. Oh yeah, No Child Left Behind. No Child Left Behind. I know it's a meme, but No Child Left Behind, NPR actually did a study on it where No Child Left Behind took toxic public school administrations that were stagnant and consistently underperforming state standards and federal standards, to be clear. And it gave the states the ability to overrule the teachers' unions and say, no, this admin cannot perform. They must be broken up until you get somebody who can get the students to meet these standards. And so they broke bad school administrations that had been stagnant for years or even decades and forced them to perform in such a way that they increased the grades, sometimes from a D or an F school up to like a B or an A. So like No Child Left Behind, unironically, was a good policy. Politics says, I'm pretty sure you could name 10 plus absolutely horrible things the Republican Party has done in that same time period. I can. Play that experiment with the Democratic part. I don't have the time today. But yeah, like I would say that Obama, God bless his soul. I would say that my criticisms of Obama are substantially less than some of the hardcore fucked up shit that Republicans have done in the past 30 years. But I also don't like the way that they're shifting the country in reference to firearms and to some degree economics. So it is what it is. Horse God says the GOP uses Alex Jones and a bunch of conservative streamers' podcasts to test political talking points, just how they did with talk radio back in the day. Once a thing hits, everyone uses it. Unsurprising. Randy Chang, is it weird that isn't that democracy though, Horse God? Isn't that democracy? Is it weird that I think we should have stayed in Afghanistan? Not really. We probably should have nation-built Afghanistan for like a century. It's not always bad when we set up shop in other countries. Things are way worse today, right? They are. They're beefing with Pakistan. Women are back in the burqas and prohibited from getting education. The central government fell almost overnight. There were like starvation conditions a few years back. Yeah, it got pretty bad. So, Patriarch says no authoritarian government sweeping monkey. Okay, no, I will. What's wrong with the laissez-faire economics, Connor? Depends. It can cause crises. So, for instance, when you have like a vertical and horizontal monopoly, as we did in the early 20th century, you effectively bar competition, and as a result, people can corner the markets. That's what happened with, what was it? Steel? With whatever J.D. Rockefeller's shit was, with U.S. Steel. And with a few other companies, I would have to look up the trust busting in the early 20th century. But effectively what they did is they did vertical integration and horizontal integration for corporations. And then when they cornered the market, not only did they annihilate their competition, but then they also, once the market was cornered and they didn't have any more competitors, then they started charging extortionate prices. So yeah, no, like trust busting is unironically good. The creation of MARSOC, there you go. Classic. But yet Democrats are still too weak. It's extremely progressive ideologies are going to drive away minority men. Also, a lot of Latinos are into shaking up cartels in Latin America. I know. Everybody thinks that every time we go into a country, we just start like shooting all the civilians, and that's not true. We typically shoot the biggest pieces of shit in their society. So, Hey, Connor, you're stinky, but I love you, DGGL. Thank you, Starkogi. I appreciate you. Bruh, the creation of Marsoc. True, true, true. Fuentes is bluffing. Maybe. Israel is the mall cop we hired to watch our gas stations, but they caught us gooning when we thought no one was looking. Now they know we can't fire them. Ah! No way. We're like Vito. We're like Vito from The Sopranos. We get caught blowing a security guard. Holy shit. Oh no. Oh no. That was horrible, Horse God. How dare you? I disavow. I disavow. How dare you imply that Israel is using sexual blackmail in order to get us to engage in geopolitical wars that are favorable to the military-industrial complex and to them. You don't like burkas? I thought you were a Burkean conservative. Oh, Larry Hutchinson, thank you for the 5 gifted, King. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. We'll get started soon. I gotta be nice to Justin. I don't see Justin as much as I used to because we don't cover dissident right-wing shit as much as we used to. And y'all need to be comfortable covering shit that's outside of your wheelhouse. So, based in handsome pill, true. We have almost around 10 companies that own 80% of the brands at the grocery store. Yeah, I'd trust bust the fuck out of that. I would have to go to the people who own them, and I would have to see how agriculture, because agriculture straight up is a industry that is fickle. It's based on environmental shit. So I would like giga regulate the agricultural industry to be sustainable, or else I would trust bust. So if they're well integrated in order to mass produce food, and if we were able to leverage trust busting into increasing humane standards for processed animals, and also update standards for like chemicals, then I 100% would do that. And but I would use trust busting as a threat. Hutch Larry with the 10 says, Base Connor, admit that Obama is the best president in 30 years. Here's done gifted. Is Obama the best president in 30 years? I'm trying to think if there's anybody else who's as good. So 30 years. So it's 2025. So that puts us back to 95. Bill Clinton was pretty goddamn good. And he was kind of like a centrist who reformed the welfare state and also oversaw the era of mass incarceration, which arrested a ton of black people. Sorry, I'm being a dick. So Bill Clinton was pretty good. I actually do like Bush. I think invading Iraq was a mistake, and that mistake is going to mar his presidency no matter what. I think the war on terror costing so much goddamn money and setting us on a path to endless debt is probably not forgivable. So I think Obama is better than Bush. I don't know if Obama's better than Clinton, but we could split hairs on that momentarily. Then he is better than Trump. And then Biden, once again, some people say, like some of the Live and Learn crew say that Biden is the best president that we've had in their lifetimes. And I think weirdly enough, Obama is obviously within their lifetimes. So it's weird for me to hear that Biden is better than Obama. I don't know how that's true. But yeah, I would say it's like a tie between Obama and Clinton. So Justin says, I lurk when you cover liberal drama. I will reward your loyalty momentarily. I will reward your loyalty momentarily, Justin. Yeah, Clinton, despite probably having sex with a few teenage prostitutes and getting a blowjob from Monica Lewinsky, I mean, he was a pretty good president. Would you subsidize the crap out of corn like we currently do? Absolutely. Absolutely. I would subsidize the shit out of rice and corn. Matter of fact, I would adopt, if I was dictator, I would adopt Lactoid's welfare program. Everybody gets unlimited corn, beans, rice, and maybe chicken. Lab-grown chicken and beef. Everybody gets unlimited of that shit. You're out of food? Go to your local federal food slot pantry and take unlimited beans, rice, corn, beef, and chicken. The beef and chicken is lab grown, but you can have unlimited amounts. You can get as fat as fuck as you want on beans and rice. Grassroots says dog shit take, but you're pretty. What's wrong? What's wrong with that? Eliminate welfare, but the locals can get unlimited beans, rice, and beef and chicken. It's just lab grown. What's wrong with that? And then we can replace food stamps. We'll keep WIC, so like the babies can still get like the formula and the fruits and veggies that they need as babies. So we'll keep WIC, but we'll get rid of food stamps. We'll have unlimited food dispensaries. And boom, there you go. Connor, if you mod Justin and or Doobie, I'm not giving you any money. I'm not going to mod Justin just because I think Justin would probably start banning people for a laugh. Oh my God. Jeb Kush says 50-minute workout and 2 miles jogged. Damn snow. Good job, buddy. Good job. All right. I'm going to be nice to Justin, though. Justin has been nice enough to put up with all your guys' liberal and progressive bullshit. So we're going to start the content. Because y'all are just trying to bullshit. Christian Valeris betrayed you by saying, hey, keep Connor talking about random shit so he never gets into the content. No! Christian Valeris. We will yap plenty, but we are not going to yap the entire day away. Let me show you this, though. This is really funny. So hold on. On Rumble, the thumbnail for this is hilarious. It's not going to load because it already auto-played. But Trump kicks out Tucker out of MAGA. Gnome fired. 4D chess moves for the Save America Act. I want to find these guys and Fed post. Like what? We're still doing the 4D chess memes? Are we serious? Are we serious about the 4D chess memes? That's bananas. That is banana pants. Anyways, let's watch these guys cope. Oh, okay. 1 p.m. we are doing Valor Reacts, so there is salvation on the horizon for those of you who don't like dissident right-wing content. Let me introduce it. Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, politics, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran. I would argue a real Republican, and I got a special treat for you today. Alex Jones, the conspiracy theorist from, I don't know, he's been doing conspiracy theory crap for like 40 or 50 years, but he's also incredibly popular because of the Joe Rogan podcast, and also he's just popular in his own right. He runs a internet show out of Austin, Texas. He obviously got sued for claiming that the victims of Sandy Hook were crisis actors and that the government organized the entire thing in order to try to take guns away. And despite him knowing that the Sandy Hook families were receiving tons of harassment as a result, he kept popularizing the narrative that they were crisis actors. So he got sued for like $750 billion. His company almost went under. He almost got totally destroyed and run off of the internet. But somehow he survived. You know, like Chancellor Palpatine. Somehow Alex Jones came back. No idea how. Then Nick Fuentes, dissident right-wing Christian nationalist. He's a race realist. He's, I think, arguably a segregationist. But that's okay. He's a Christian nationalist. Race isn't everything. It's just not nothing. And he is an anti-mass immigration hawk. Hawk Tua. He is an anti-immigration hawk. Okay? Does not want all the Mexicans, does not want all the Indians, does not want all the Chinese, does not want all the Middle Eastern and North African people. He wants Northern European Christians to be dominant in American society, and he wants that to remain the thing, and he wants the state to do that via legislation and executive action. So Trump, weirdly enough, in his mind, has not done enough to forward that agenda. All the liberals in my chat are freaking out because we got mass deportation operations and the violation of the Fourth Amendment and the First Amendment and the Second Amendment and all that crap. Nick Fuentes thinks that Trump is a pussy and therefore the country is going to explode. So apparently what ends up happening is because of the overseas Iran war. This is an AI ad, so give it a second for me to skip while I'm still yapping. But apparently what's happened is Alex Jones in tears and Nick Fuentes with rage in his eyeballs have decided that Trump has betrayed the MAGA movement and he is no longer worthy of defending. Let's take it from there. Where's the audio?
So Israel hits them, so we have to go to full war now. And they try to claim, oh, we're just trying to get their missiles now. No, Trump says, oh, we killed 40-something, now we're killing the rest. It's about regime change. So,
damn, that's a little bit too fast. I wish there was a 1.15.
These are clear promises broken. This is clearly unconstitutional. Didn't get congressional authorization. This is full war. It's out of control. I appreciate Nick Holding while I did a 10-minute intro. Nick Fuentes is our guest. And again, people say, this guy's pro-white, this guy's whatever. We have major universities saying no whites allowed. We have whites are the devil, must be exterminated, New York Times. This is the natural response to that. So I don't want to hear a bunch of stuff. I always want to say that as a premise right up front. So Nick, you told us what was coming 2 years ago. You've been proven right. You know, you're like the new Alex Jones being right on things. So I want you to give your take on what's currently happening and then what you predict is going to come next. And is there any way to get Trump to extricate himself from this bear trap?
Yeah, this is silly. Nick Fuentes has been promising like a war with Iran, like a boots on the ground existential war. That's not what's happening, but we can pretend he's right.
Well, I'll take the last question first. I think the answer is no. And I was very pessimistic about the prospect of that going into this administration. As you know, in 2024, I said that Trump is the Iran war candidate. It was inevitable that Trump would take us to war. And as a matter of fact, I think that's a large reason why he got elected in the first place. I think that if you look at the election in 2020, it was obviously stolen and rigged. And so you say, well, how did he then come back and win in 2024? Well, clearly the riggers had to stand down and let him take office. And whether that's a combination of the media, social media, electioneering, whatever you want to say, they let him win. And I think they let him win because they knew that unlike Joe Biden and unlike the Democrats, he was going to have no hesitation, no reluctance whatsoever to engage Iran and its proxies, which, of course, he then did throughout 2025 and 26. So as to whether he can extricate himself from the situation, I don't think so. I think that over and over, we see the same pattern where whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, Israel triggers a confrontation with Iran. And the United States does its best, I think, in both cases, in a Democrat or Republican administration, to mitigate the severity of the confrontation. So Joe Biden used deterrence. I believe that Donald Trump last year wanted that midnight hammer strike to be the end of the nuclear program and one tap and the war. But of course, Israel has orchestrated all of these different confrontations. They're deliberately provoking and triggering them. And I think that was the same story here. What has happened, as you said, as Marco Rubio said yesterday, is that Israel came to the United States. Netanyahu came to the White House for, I believe, the sixth time since Trump took office for the second time. And he told Trump, we're going in. And you can join us or you cannot join us, but we're going to attack and your soldiers are going to be collateral damage. And so they forced our hand. And what is happening now, once again, is actually very much more of the same, which is that in the same way that in previous years, Washington and Tel Aviv actually diverge on their Iran policy. For example, Washington seeks denuclearization. Our doctrine is non-proliferation of WMDs. Our imperative is we don't want Iran to have the bomb. Israel, on the other hand, has always wanted regime change. And these are two completely different things. Israel seeks the termination not just of the Ayatollah, but of the entire Islamic revolutionary government. And so that tension has characterized the three-way diplomacy between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. This war is more of the same. I believe that Trump went in knowing that Israel was going in. And I believe the play, to the extent that there is any kind of a plan, is Trump wants the Venezuela model. I'm sure that he, and I think Vance and the others as well, they thought they would go in hard and quickly against Iran, destroy the Navy, destroy the missile production, destroy the missile launch platforms, kill some of the top brass. And the expectation is that somebody from within the Iranian Revolutionary Guard would rise up as a pragmatist and negotiate with the United States for peace. And they would maintain Iran's government structure and security architecture while being pliant or compliant with the United
And by
States.
the way, you're not just speculating. They admit this, an insane gamble, just a crazy shot in the dark gamble.
Yes, and that is the correct word. It's a gamble. That is totally a roll of the dice, whether that will happen. We just don't know that. We don't know who that might be, if that will happen. Now, further, this is why this is the ongoing divergence in Washington-Tel Aviv policy. That's not going to be enough for Israel. Even if that was possible, let's say in your revolutionary, zealot, Shiite, theocratic government, you get a faction from the IRGC that wants to negotiate with Washington after they killed the Ayatollah and half the leadership and blew up the country. Even if that happens, will this satisfy Israel? The answer is no. Because what Israel is seeking is a total regime change. They want to install a liberal democratic government, maybe led by the Shah, or at least a transition led by the Shah. And why? So that they can manipulate the future state of Iran, as they did in Syria, as they did in Iraq, as they did in these other countries.
And that was my point from Saturday on, is you can look.
Okay. I'm okay with 80% of this descriptively, but I do think that this is a moment of tail wagging the dog, where we had this debate with a Israeli. I went on to Lonerbox's stream. I started talking about Jeffrey Epstein's intel ties with Israel and Turkey and the United States, and his involvement in the Iran-Contra affair, and his involvement with Ehud Barak, a commando who became the defense minister of Israel, who then was boys with Jeffrey Epstein long after the fact. And I said, like, oh, he's clicked up with Mossad. And so this, like, Israeli Zionist chick jumps into the chat immediately and is like, I think that you're making wild allegations without sufficient evidence. And I was like, that's you being so defensive about intel-connected, ephemophilic sex trafficking weapons dealers is more alarming than me describing the situation factually. That was actually kind of like a wild tact to take on her end. And also, I don't think that any of the points that she brought up actually, like, eliminated what I was saying at all. Like I think it might have modified it with a little bit of nuance. But all of that to say that I don't think that Israel just gets what it wants. Okay? I don't think Israel just gets what it wants. I think that Israel is a geopolitically aligned force that punches way above its weight class. However, it's still, the United States is still a mastiff and Israel is still a chihuahua. So a chihuahua can run up and bite your fucking ankles, and that's going to hurt like a motherfucker. But a mastiff could take off your entire goddamn arm. And so pretending, like, yeah, sure, can a chihuahua bully a mastiff? Absolutely. But can a mastiff rip a chihuahua's head off at any moment? Absolutely. And so let's not get it twisted. Israel doesn't get everything it wants all the fucking time, okay? It disproportionately gets what it wants because it's vocal about what it wants, right? Somebody said something interesting, though. They said, Keys, why don't you debate Destiny on Epstein and Israel? I kind of did yesterday. I brought up the intel ties. The beginning of my conversation with Destiny, if you want to check the VOD from yesterday, whenever you see me jump on with Destiny, the first 8.5 minutes are me narrativizing Jeffrey Epstein's connections to the intel community, and then why would it be illogical to infer that he got a sweetheart deal because he was well connected with the American intelligence community? And he basically said, well, as long as the facts that you're representing to me are true, then I think that it's logical to infer that. Now, Destiny's like retreat position is that whenever he wants to make like a broad, bold assertion, he wants all of the facts. Whereas where I think I get annoyed with him on Epstein and Israel and all that kind of stuff is I get annoyed when he pretends that it's illogical to infer what I infer from the underlying facts. So yeah, but he didn't fight me on it. So if you literally want to watch that debate, go to yesterday's VOD, find when I pop on with Destiny, watch the first 8.5 minutes, and boom, there you go. He basically was like, meh. He was like, meh. Two Philo-Semites have a rigorous discussion on how to support Israel even harder. Correct. Riddell with the 10 says, I recommend checking out Legal Eagle's video on how MAGA is trying to corrupt the elections with everything these Republicans have been trying to do. I don't see them returning to normalcy anytime soon. Hey, listen, all we can do is fight the good fight. Okay? All we can do is fight the good fight. Thank you for the $10, by the way.
This one-dimensionally, yeah, mullahs are bad, but the British to the U.S. and Israel always put worse people in, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda in charge of Syria. The idea that oh, the West is this fairy godmother creating My Little Pony heavens is bullshit.
Well, that's totally true. And not only that, but...
Sorry, I got to interrupt the flow because QC John said something based. I have firsthand experience seeing this. My wife's Yorkie dog terrifies my Rhodesian Ridgeback. Number one, based breed, bro. Are you shitting me? I think Rhodesians are so beautiful. Very quick tangent. I promise, Christian Valeris. Sorry for interrupting the flow of content in order to engage with my chat. My bad. But if y'all haven't seen Rhodesian Ridgebacks, number one, they're beautiful. Number two, they are lion hunters. They take half a dozen of these dogs. In South Africa, they run across the grass plains. They corner and trap lions so that a hunter can run up and shoot the lion. But basically, they're fearless. They're fearless. They're insanely strong. They're not afraid of claws. They're not afraid of teeth. They are insane, strong, beautiful dogs. So the fact that you have a Rhodesian being bullied by a Yorkie sounds about right to me.
I think it's likely at this point that a hardliner regime takes power because who's going to be left after these people watch their leaders get killed and their colleagues and their own countrymen get killed? I don't think they become more compliant. And it's a country of 90 million people. They have 1 million soldiers between all the security services. I don't know that they're just going to lay down and beg for mercy at this point. Why would they?
Americans, even a pussified Americans wouldn't do that. The Vietnamese they're not going to lay down. They're going to get more aggressive.
They will, and that plays into Israel's hands. Because then what this does is it basically reignites the pretext for war. So, the language in the Trump admin is escalation. We're going to bomb them even harder. We're not ruling out boots on the ground. It can always get worse. And so maybe you get a ceasefire, a new regime comes to power, they don't surrender, and then we have to come up with a more permanent solution. And this is where now the U.S. is talking to the Kurds and talking about the Kurds maybe potentially being a ground force.
Now they're talking about breaking
militias.
Iran up, which is the Israeli plan to break up every country there.
Listen, arming the militias, that way they're not getting endlessly slaughtered by the authoritarian regime. Yeah, I think that's pretty based. Now, Brian says, that's a dog all of your friends who act like they are edgy and no more say they want one but never get one. Dude, that's me. That's me for real, for real. I wish I could have a Malinois. I wish I could have a Ridgeback. I wish I could have a Husky. I don't have the time to exercise a Husky or a Ridgeback or a Malinois. Those dogs, I just Googled our Rhodesian Ridgebacks high energy dogs because they're so beautiful. I would love to own one. But if they need 2 hours of rigorous physical exercise every single day, I don't have time like that. Are you fucking shitting me? I got a Sado, which is a Puerto Rican street dog, laying on my couch right now. That chick fucking sleeps 20 hours a day. That's the kind of dog I need. We go for a 20-minute walk. She's ecstatic. Ecstatic for a 20-minute walk, and then when we're done with the 20-minute walk, she goes back to bed.
Right, as they did in Iraq, as they did in Syria. That's the textbook Israeli grand strategy. So yes, and that's the thing. You never see the end of the Iran war. It's always, this is just the latest climax. This is just the latest ceiling of hostilities between the U.S., Iran, and Israel, which have been ongoing for decades. And I don't think this is the end of it. So I don't know that I'd be
totally
surprised.
agree. Do you think Trump even, I'm not trying to give him a get out of jail free card, but I actually know what your answer is. I know you're smart. Do you think Trump even understands this? And the answer is no.
No, I don't think so. And I think he just overestimates his abilities. I'm sure that in part, maybe they did Venezuela to build up his confidence. Because Venezuela is a totally different story. 28 million people. The regime's not loyal.
They did the limited bombing thing and let him negotiate and have Israel stand down. They did that thing last year, I said, to get his confidence up with Iran.
You did say that. I remember I was down there and you said exactly that. And I think that is quite literally the play, which is you get that momentum, you get that inertia. And I'm sure they told him that this would create a deterrent effect. You do it to Venezuela, you can bring the force to Iran and say,
And
hey,
let's
look,
remember, they
look
got
what we did
top
to this guy.
psychologists, the really good ones, are studying Trump. I mean, they're, you know, and they're pitching him bullshit, seeing what works, going back. I mean, it's disgusting.
It is, and they manipulate him. You know, people say it's blackmail. People say they got a tape of him. I don't think it's that complicated. I think that they surround him, they saturate his information diet, and you know, and they form his opinions. They create the options. And the question is, where's the personnel? Where's Tulsi Gabbard? Isn't she the DNI? Where is she? Where's Vance? Where's Rubio? These are all supposed to be America First people that we were supposed to be excited about in the cabinet. And what we find from the Times is that not even a single one of them told Trump not to do it. And these were all ostensibly supposed to be against the endless wars, the Middle Eastern conflict.
Eye drops improve your vision, right? Nope. What about injections? Nope. Eye surgery? Nope. Here's what actually...
Wait, I didn't think you were wrong 2 years ago when you predicted this, or last year when you said it was...
I don't know if you guys have seen this, but one of my favorite things to find on Twitter as a neocon is Tulsi Gabbard, because she's the director of national intelligence or whatever. So I'm assuming that she's pretty clicked up into NSA and probably CIA as well. She's probably clicked up in those circles, getting top secret compartmentalized briefs. And so like it's Tulsi Gabbard briefing the cabinet on how well the Iranian airstrikes are going. And do you guys remember there was a TikTok like 3 to 5 years ago where a very young mom, she was probably 19 years old, but her daughter had RSV, which is a very serious respiratory illness that can kill infants. And so she was like really sad because she was in the hospital and for like several days with her infant child who had RSV. And so it was threatening. So her face is puffy. She has tears like rolling down her face, but then she's doing like a TikTok dance. Like she's doing like a TikTok dance while like on the text, it's like talking about her daughter's RSV. And the kid's fine. To be clear, the kid's fine. But that's Tulsi Gabbard in reference to the success of the Iranian airstrike. She's like, yeah, we got all the heads of the Iranian regime, but there's like tears like streaming down her face.
I hope we can avert this. But clearly now, if you follow Trump's psychology, I think he just doubles down. So where does that go?
So
I need a tea refill. I'll be right back.
I think that it will end in regime change one way or another. You know, what happens imminently is sort of unpredictable. It's hard to imagine how exactly the Iranians respond and what the Trump administration has up its sleeves in terms of escalation. But I think that Israel, clearly they're driving the policy. They've orchestrated all of these events. They're not letting go until there's a regime change. And what Israel wants, they get. So I think that before the 4 years are up, you're going to see a full-scale regime change. And for that to happen, there's going to need to be a ground presence. Maybe that's partial U.S., partially it's militia or it's Kurds. I believe that is what was driving the protests even a month ago. It was all in the western half of the country, in the Kurdish part. And they said that these were people clad in black and they had automatic weapons and they appeared to be trained. So I imagine it's going to be some kind of smart power, multi-domain operation with the militias armed, maybe from Iraqi Kurdistan, which shares the border, and maybe from Turkey. And I think there's going to be some kind of force that comes in and forces a transition. I think that's, when you work out the math on that, I think that's all but inevitable. And it seems unlikely now, but it seemed unlikely that we'd be here. It seemed unlikely we'd be bombing Iran into submission or that we'd bomb their nuclear program a year ago. It just keeps escalating in that direction.
You predicted it because I watch your show. I watch clips almost every day, but whenever I can, I watch when I work out hours of it, every few days. You literally, it was uncanny. I remember laid all this out 2 years ago. How did you know that? You just knew their policy.
They said it.
Yeah.
They said it openly. I appreciate you saying that. And it is true. I did predict it almost to the letter, but they were basically saying this in October 2023. Right after the October 7th attacks, the Israelis all came out and they said, this is going to be a regional war. We're going to destroy all the proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, and then we're going to cut the head off the snake. They said, we're going to reset the international relations in the region that has prevailed for 50 years. And I think what they meant by that is this Islamic crescent headed by Iran, which was only the latest one after the Baathists, after the Arab coalition between Syria and Egypt. So I think that if you're really paying attention, even to the rhetoric from Trump, everybody forgets that the Israelis were whispering in Trump's ear that Iran was trying to assassinate him. Why do you think they did that? It's because they were already laying the groundwork. That was their pre-programming to sabotage that relationship so that they could tell him when he becomes president, hey, remember, they did try to...
Christian Valaris, you have been a grumpy Gus recently, okay? So Kay comes in and she says, what are we doing today? And you say, more far-right slop. When's the last time we did far-right slop? You tell me. I feel like I've been trapped in a lib versus left bubble for like weeks now. And whenever I suggest a palate cleanser, you guys are like, no. And by the way, this is all geopolitical analysis. They're talking about factions in the Middle East and North Africa battling each other with American military backing for the future of the Iranian people. It's all geopolitics. If you took who the personalities are and you took out some of their more extreme statements, this is actually substantive. Why the fuck don't you want something substantive? Okay? Like, so for instance, let's go into Counterpoints Politics real quick. Let's take a look at the last time we did dissident right-wing slop. Okay? So, Destiny, Hutch, Lib and Learn, Destiny versus a conservative, Epstein files, me fighting Pisco, me criticizing Lib and Learn, Destiny, that me and him debating Venezuela, Tofu Meltdown. So this is Vegan Gains debate with Destiny. And then boom, this is me debating PF Young. This is me debating PF Young. It was 3 weeks ago. 99% of our content over the past fucking 3 or 4 weeks has been liberal versus left-wing slop or liberal versus other liberal slop. Was that? Yeah, but you said dissident right-wing slop again. You said more far right-wing slop. More, implying that we've done some previously. So yeah, you're a grumpy Gus. That's what I'm saying right now. Oh, I know. But Fashion 40 says, Connor, Christian Valaris is going through some stuff, and he has helped the channel a lot. The Groypers. I love Christian Valaris. I want the best for Christian Valaris. I want him to interview with a ton of jobs, get a fucking 6 or 7 figure income, and then I want him and his polycule wife to get a big booty Latina girl into their polycule. That's what I want for Christian Valaris. But sometimes when your friend is a grumpy Gus, you call them out on the fact that they're grumpy Gusses. Apologies, let me make my opinion clear. All left-wing content is better than any far-wing content, including food shops. Okay. Well, as your internet friend, I think you're being a grumpy Gus. Okay? I think I'm a grumpy Gus. I think you're being a grumpy Gus. I'm not freaking out. Not yet. You'll know when I freak out. Numanax. I'm kidding. I do parasocially love you guys. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. I do want the best for you guys. And if I'm calling you out, it's because I feel called out. Okay? I feel like I do cover liberal versus leftist slop because you guys, 70% of the channel are liberals. We actually verified that through polling. Okay, we verified that through polling that like 67%, 67 of the channel are liberals. And so we have like 28% conservatarians, and then we have 2 to 3% dissident right-wing guys, okay? But I think that if we're expecting the conservatarians to come along the ride with us for liberals versus leftists, then every now and then we need to go to the conservatarian side and the dissident right-wing side. Number one, so we can get dissident right-wingers, maybe to consider some nuance that they're not considering in reference to the content that they consume. And then also to get some conservatarians to feel like they're not alone, to make them feel like they're not stuck on the right wing even though they are stuck on the right wing by themselves without any fucking backup. You know, it gets lonely out there, man. When you're a right winger who dislikes Trump because you think he's an authoritarian dick sucker who's violating the Constitution left, right, and center, and you feel like all your libertarian bros have abandoned you in order to dick suck the state. And then you also feel like as a Christian or a cultural Christian who believes in values, like believes in like real social conservative shit, like you should love your wife, you should love your kids, you should take care of your community, you should, try to be the best person you can be. And then you look around and everyone around you is like, at least on the internet, are like involuntary celibate Christian Orthodox and Catholic freaks who just want to like take Christian theocracy and jam it down the throat of their neighbors. It gets fucking lonely out there. It gets lonely out there. So I want to reach out to people like Justin, try to give him some food for thought so maybe he adds some nuance to his worldview. And then I want to reach out to the conservatarians who probably feel like there's nobody around. And I want to say, I'm one of you. This is what I think. So, anyways, it might sound like I'm a sensitive Sally and I'm being mean, but I promise you it's coming from a place of parasocial love. Okay?
And that was always meant to spoil diplomacy between the two countries.
Well, QC John says, conservatarian here would rather watch Brent Tucker or Valhalla VFT than Fuentes. Just saying, lol. Send that to me in a DM. That way I can... So there's like 2 or 3 people who are saying Valhalla VFT is always fun. I don't even know who the fuck those people are. So send it to me so I can check out their content so I can see if I can engage with it in a way that would be entertaining for stream. Anyways.
Sure, let me ask you this question then. Why do the Israelis for 5 years wear on a lot of their uniforms the Greater Israel map? Why do they admit it in their newspapers, then attack us and censor us when we say it, and then have dozens of articles a day, I can't keep track of them, saying, we run America, we're the new superpower, we're going to take out Turkey, we're going to take out our allies through Obama. They took out and put the Muslim Brotherhood in. They created Hamas. I mean, we're sitting here watching, and it's not just Netanyahu, it's the other main party in their last prime minister saying we're going to get Turkey and others next. I mean, and then they think we're going to go to war now with Turkey, the biggest conventional military in Europe. I mean, it's like there's this giant buffet, and Israel's like a 1,000-pound fat person that wants us to sit there and hand feed all this at our expense. I mean, this is just megalomaniac. So I know Israel's smart in an evil way, but why do they brag? And I guess to enrage everybody else that's awake, because that just adds to the furor. Or what's going on here?
I think that is a deliberate provocation. I think that, part of their entire MO is they actually need the conflict. They feed on the conflict. All of this was the result from October 7th. And after all, what was October 7th? Well, they called it the Al-Aqsa flood operation. What is Al-Aqsa? That is the mosque. That's the Temple Mount. That's the Dome on the Rock, which is in Jerusalem, which is the center really of the occupied territory dispute. That the Palestinians claim East Jerusalem as the capital, and they claim that's their third holiest mosque in Islam. And what the Jews did in Israel that precipitated the October 7th attack is they had all of these Jews go to the Dome on the Rock, go to the mosque in Jerusalem, to the Al-Aqsa compound, and they started doing their religious rites in a very provocative way. And actually, that was the precipitating cause.
And killing the red heifer.
Yes, finding the red heifer, the unblemished heifer and everything. And it was deliberately intended to provoke the Muslims into a response. And I think that the stuff about Greater Israel, the goal is the same. It is to provoke these countries into conflict, because ultimately that is the way they're going to achieve their goals, is to elicit hostility. And then that's the pretext to bring in the United States to fight their wars for them. And I think that's the playbook from day one. So that is all part of it. Telegraphing that, signaling that's all part of the sick agenda, sadly.
No, I agree. So let's unpack this and how do we stop it? How do we stop it? We'll be right back with Nick Fuentes. Stay with us here to live feeds now.
I don't think you can. So I'm going to fast forward this a little bit, and I'm also going to react to it a little bit. So getting back to the content, instead of me being a grumpy Gus who's yelling at my grumpy audience, I mean, grumpiness is definitely a part of the aesthetic of this channel, that's for sure. But I think that the neoconservatives and the Zionists, I don't use that as an invective. Okay, I really don't. Zionist, being somebody who supports the existence of the state of Israel, I don't think is an invective. I think I've told you guys repeatedly that I think a two-state solution would be ideal, where the West Bank, we create a border where Jerusalem gets split down the middle, so both people have access to Al-Aqsa and the Dome of the Rock or the Temple or whatever, the Temple Mount. And boom, west side is Jews, east side is Muslims. If you want to live on the other side of the border, that's totally fine, but you have to do so with permission from the other party. And then here's the new borders of the West Bank. Here's the Israeli thing, so they feel like they can defend their border. And here's the Palestinian thing, so they feel like they can defend their border. Boom, here's the West Bank. That's Palestinian territory. Build a massive fucking highway in between the West Bank and Gaza, and then literally just have Gaza and the West Bank be part of Palestinian territory. And so, boom, you got a state. You can start doing taxation, education programs, infrastructure, all that kind of stuff, and then make the Palestinian state, the Palestinian country, I suppose, a place that people actually want to live. Some place that has food, shelter, water, education, job opportunities, all that kind of stuff. And then same thing with Israel. Israel can keep developing and being one of our greatest allies, quote unquote. I think the problem with that is there are Zionist Jewish hardliners who want to slowly but surely annex the West Bank and slowly but surely ethnically displace and then occupy Gaza, to the point that like 150 years from now, we don't even think of Gaza as a Palestinian territory. We think of it as a Palestinian territory that got annexed and now it's part of Israel. And same thing with the West Bank. It's like, oh, well, the West Bank is Israel controlled now. It's just Israel. We don't even think of it as a Palestinian territory anymore. And so basically, instead of having the nation state of Israel being this shape that has like cuts in it on the east and on the southwest, you just don't even have the cuts anymore. It's actually a continuous shape. Now, when you get into greater Israel past that, I think that's kind of cope. I think the chances of Israel expanding into Jordan is very low. I think the chances of them taking southern Lebanon is very low. I think the chances of them taking significant swaths of Syria is very low. I think them retaking and colonizing the Sinai is pretty low. I think that they need to, basically boost their population and physical security sufficiently that they take on that territory that I've already outlined. If you can't picture it in your mind, I could show you. I might even have some drawings on it. But that being said, I don't begrudge the people who view this as a colonial project to slowly push out the indigenous people who have been there for centuries. I don't begrudge them that worldview. But then the question is kind of like, what are you going to do about it? Because the truth is, Saudi doesn't care, Egypt doesn't care, Libya doesn't care. Well, these people, probably the civilian populations care, but I don't think anybody in the region is going to do anything about it. I think they're just going to let it happen slowly. So this map is something that I drew multiple times. This is what was promised to Abraham in his vision. The east of the Nile, the west of the Euphrates, this was going to be quote unquote greater Israel. You had Jews go into Egypt. You had the Exodus. You had them conquer this territory of Judea. And there was Israel and Judea. Then we had the Babylonian conquest, the Persian conquest, the Greek conquest, the Roman conquest, the Muslim incursions, the Crusader invasions. Where is it? I just lost it. Damn. I was cooking. Excuse me. Let's bring that back up. If you would please consult your shit. We have the diaspora after the Crusaders. We have the Zionists returning. We have the British Mandate. We have the Nakba, reverse Nakba. We got the modern state of Israel. And like I said, if you couldn't visualize this before, I think what the Giga Zionists want is they want this West Bank, this like cut in their eastern flank that looks like a butt. I think they want to annex that. And then I think they want to annex Gaza. That way, this is one continuous shape. Maybe they would take parts of like southern Lebanon and Syria in order to secure them if there were geographic regions. But considering how close Damascus is to the Israeli border, I don't think they can encroach on these territories without going to war with a nation state of like Lebanon and Syria. And Lebanon and Syria might not be able to like kick Israel's ass sufficiently, but there's enough people there that I don't think it's going to work. Yeah, and then basically with Iran getting taken out, the amount of people who are going to resist this project is very low, like incredibly low. And I think this is the Ummah, the Muslims. This is the Middle East and North Africa, which is predominantly Muslim. This is obviously the Gulf, which is predominantly Muslim. This is Western China and the Stans and Pakistan and Iran. This is pretty much like the Ottoman Empire and the Abbasid Caliphate at their peak. This is a map of them approximately at their peak. And so to concede this territory to the Jews does not really interrupt. Oh, I even included Malaysia and the Philippines. Nice. But to say that this territory is still going to remain 99.9% Muslim, and then they might concede this mini territory to Israel, that's what I think is going to happen. I think this whole greater Israel, they're going to fulfill the promise of Abraham by seizing eastern Egypt and Jordan and western Iraq. I think that's cope and bullshit. Silver for $2 says, did you watch the video of the torpedo strike? No, I didn't. I heard that some Navy people are celebrating because it's like the first naval engagement by a nuclear submarine in American history. So I heard that the Navy is excited about it. I do feel bad for the Iranian sailors who probably got turbo fucked by torpedoes. I do feel bad for them. Anyways, back to it.
Rule. I want to be accurate. I want to be smart. I want to be informed. The more knowledge I get, the more I want factoids. The more I want to, it all interconnects. And then I really disdain on the left, right, anything, people that just pick up talking points and act like they know something. And what's frustrating is 90% of these so-called journalists and influencers, literally, you talk to them in person, they don't know anything. They sit there like deer in the headlights. My callers are infinitely more knowledgeable because, they're tuned in here. They probably were smart before they tuned in. That's why they look for something else smart. Bird of a feather flock together. But it's not about tuning our horns. It's about saying we need to save civilization and humanity. Nick Fuentes, you can disagree with his conclusions or what he thinks should be done sometimes, but you can't disagree with his analysis and the fact that he goes up against top geopolitical, White House advisors with 5 degrees and kicks their ass. So respect needs to be due. But also, it's not just the globals we're fighting. It's the low IQ people that we've woken up who are more like in high school and they want to, in a hierarchy, say, everybody's a globalist but them. It's something that the Israelis and the other lobbies feed with bots to make us fight with each other. So we don't recognize the organic leaders that God has given us to lead us out of this. So I want to just say that right up front, that I respect Nick Fuentes because he knows what he's talking about. I can disagree on the final product of thousands of points that go together or say maybe this is better, and sometimes he's right more than I am. The difference is he knows what he's talking about. And I am sick and tired of having debate low. And then maybe describe to people, because you predicted the future, where this course takes us. Nick Fuentes.
Need to use the restroom and grab my tea. I'll be right back.
Well, as I said, I'm very pessimistic about that. And the reason being is because when you look at the numbers, it's not popular. They did all the polls this weekend. You got Washington Post, Reuters. I think there's a few others. And the approval rating for the conflict is sitting at about 30%, right around 30%, maybe just under that. And Trump has to know this is an utter betrayal of his campaign promise of no new wars, and he's the peace president and so on. So as far as a massive demonstration, what is that supposed to demonstrate? That the war is unpopular? They know the war is unpopular. Is that supposed to demonstrate that we're dissatisfied? They know we're dissatisfied. And I think that gets back to the nature of it, which is that it is a gamble. And I think that Trump is counting on the fact, well, let's actually be honest for a moment here about it. Trump is counting on the fact or the possibility that this works, that this little gambit pays off. And we bomb Iran a lot for a week. It's quick and it's hard, and then we leave and we get what we want, and there's minimal loss of life. If it is successful, I think people on our side may even be underestimating the appetite for something like that among the general public. If it's a big victory, or if they're able to plausibly claim victory, it may even be popular. And so I think Trump is actually okay with this. I think that Trump, the way he sees it, because he said this the other day, he said, I don't care about approval ratings. He said, and I'll put boots on the ground. I don't care.
You know what causes one amputation every 8 seconds in the world? Type 2 diabetes. Try this before bed. Eliminates the diabetes parasite, resets blood sugar levels, and reverses type 2. 9 out of 10 Americans will suffer from type 2 diabetes, and less than 1% know the truth about it. The reason you've never heard of this is simple. There's a lot of money involved in keeping you sick and dependent on insulin. The real culprit behind type 2 diabetes isn't sugar, genetics, or carbs, like doctors usually say. It's a disgusting parasite living inside your pancreas, feeding on insulin and draining your beta cells, causing your blood sugar levels to spike, even when you're...
Now, obviously he cares on some level, but I think in his mind, this is all
yeah, you better care about a bunch of dead troops. I mean, you talk about, we're talking, it'll make Vietnam numbers look tame.
Well, it depends on what they do. If it's a full-scale invasion, you're absolutely right, because they will try to inflict maximum casualties, and it will get ugly. It will be like Iraq.
Obviously already special forces there before this happened. I'm talking about a real invasion to, quote, secure the Strait of Hormuz or whatever. That's how they'll start it. It's a disaster.
Right. Yeah. And I agree. And I think that, on some level, he obviously cares about these things, but this is part of the bluff. This is part of the gambit, which is, partially, I think some of the things he's saying is meant to signal to the Iranians that things could get worse. If the outcome that you desire is for a pragmatic faction to take power, negotiate with the United States, well, to persuade them that that is the logical course, you would actually need to convince them that things could get worse.
And that's why they just had the council meeting to elect a new mullah who didn't want peace right now. They just killed them today. So he's hoping like maybe the next group's less radical. But as you said on your show a few days ago, and it's true, as you go down the chain, they get more radical and stupider.
Yes, and that is why he's trying to persuade them that it could always get worse. I'm sure in their mind, in Trump's mind, he's thinking that these Iranians expect that maybe they could ride out the storm. If they could survive, if they could hide out in shelters, then maybe there's going to be some continuity of government. And Trump is trying to persuade them that if they don't capitulate, it could get worse. The bottom could continue to fall out from under them.
And by the way,
what they really don't want.
Influence farmers will say you just endorsed Trump. No, when you war game what he's thinking, you're not endorsing that.
Right. No, we're purely speculating about his state of mind and what his approach is. And so I think
that you see the clips of you where they take you wargaming and say that's the same thing to me. That's what they do. I just want to get that out there.
Yeah, they always. Yeah, well, and I consider those people to be third worldists because they're really arguing for Iran in and of itself, or Venezuela in and of itself, or China. And me, I look at Iran not as a great country. I mean, they're a Muslim theocracy, but I look at them.
Oh, you think we're on YouTube? We're on Rumble, King. You think we're on YouTube? Get out of here.
As a country that, one, they're a sovereign state, so I don't think we have business going in and killing their leader.
Their potential to destroy us and bring down the economy. So.
Right. And I would go further than that. They balance Israel. There's a balance between Iran and Israel. I don't know that that's the worst thing in the world, because if you have two very powerful states.
Israel needs to be contained. Now why are they now publicly admitting everywhere? I'm sure you've seen it, that, yeah, we're taking everything, including their allies. Like it'd be like if my neighbor said, yeah, I just went over and screwed my neighbor's wife and your wife's next.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a provocation. It's intended to be provocative. They actually do not want peace in the region, and all of this is based on fueling this ongoing conflict. They don't want it.
Same reason they stood down on October 7th. Same reason they founded Hamas.
Yes, and Americans are under the impression that we're desperate to make a deal, and there's this peace that is just always elusive, always out of reach. If only the Muslims would just relax. But it takes two to tango here. The Israelis, they are the ones that actually want the conflict. They didn't want to deal with Iran. If they get a deal with Iran, that they don't get to topple the Iranian regime. If Iran gets a deal with the United States, maybe they give up their nukes on some timeline, but they also get to normalize their trade relations and diplomatic relations with all the countries in the region.
Israel wants to keep it in no man's land and keep them in the timeout box.
Yes, they want.
Well, that's where I'm hoping the United States has some balls. So I'm hoping the United States is willing to tell Israel, hey, like, obviously, like, I would love regime change for Khazra. I would love regime change for the people of Iran. But the truth is that that's reliant on the Iranian people. So people are saying, like, oh, arming militias, oh, letting the CIA sneak in with cash and guns in order to support the militias. Oh, that's so bad. For me, that's like the jam. Fuck yeah. Like, let's get Iranian militias some training, some weapons. Let's get them fighting security forces in the street. Let's get the American airstrikes to take out leadership. And by the way, it's a lot easier to massacre civilians. It's a lot easier to massacre 40,000 civilians with semi-automatic rifles and general-purpose machine guns when they're not shooting back. When the militias start shooting back, the security forces might freak the fuck out and be like, all right, this isn't worth it. I'm about to get smoked. And so, once you have that, you actually have the capacity for regime change. So regime change is ideal, but let's say that we drop in tens of millions of dollars in cash. We drop in, tens of millions of dollars of AK-47s and ammo to paramilitary organizations. And then let's say the paramilitary organizations are not willing to take the fight to the Iranian regime because they're scared. Or let's say they do it a couple of times, but nobody backs them. Well, then it seems like the Iranian people are actually not interested in overthrowing the regime. And so if they're not, then we just need a pragmatist. And so if there's a high-ranking Iranian official who says, hey, we're going to continue with the Ayatollahs, we're going to continue with a theocracy, we're still going to be kind of authoritarian to our people, but we will dismantle our nukes, and we will normalize trade relations with the United States and normalize trade with our neighbors. Boom, that's enough for like an economic boom in the Middle East and North Africa and additional security stability within the region. So that's actually not that bad. Obviously, I want freedom for Khazra, I want freedom for the Iranian people, but barring freedom, I want stability. So, that's actually not that bad. And I hope the United States has the wisdom to play it smart. Anonymous with a 10 says, let's see the next ad play all the way out. I want to see. Okay. No. Well, QC John with the 20. Thank you, King. For an ad blocker, I don't want a paid actor trying to take away my Oreo and elf fudge cookies. All right. Well, my apologies. We got some people who want the ads where diabetes is diagnosed as a gut parasite, and then we also have people who are not fans. Oh my god, you guys are funny. Charlemagne says, Connor, they just lost 30k people willing to overthrow the regime. The estimates of how many Kurdish forces the CIA is trying to arm is less than that number. I know, but it's a little bit too little too late, right? I don't think Trump, you guys swapped in Trump for the United States. Trump's one man. He obviously has a cabinet, and he has the Department of War. You can say that he's trying to remake these institutions in his own image, but many of the people at the tops of these institutions, they're decades-long civil servants. They're members of the deep state. I do trust deep staters to be smarter than Trump.
To maintain that kind of operational control like they had in Syria, where they can control the airspace and they can just drop bombs, and then they could ultimately control the outcome in that country and make it significantly weaker. So So that's the sick logic of
Here's my
Israel's grand
problem.
strategy.
We have a full sales job now by Netanyahu, Trump, and now Vance. We have the clips that it may last a little while, a long time, it may last forever. We're being sold on a forever war right now. It's so, here's my problem. I don't want the Democrats opening the border. I like Trump killing the carbon tax. I like the no tax on tips. See, there's all this good stuff, but rapidly, like, I can ignore some stuff and hold my nose with Trump, but quickly, I mean, by the hour, I morally cannot be part of this. You're already there saying vote Democrat. I get you're saying that as a carrot and the stick, but I mean, what the hell's going on?
I think you have to. I think you have to vote Democrat in 26, and I'll tell you why. I mean, we're being told always that the Republicans are the lesser of two evils, that they're going to be marginally better than the Democrats. Look at all of the broken promises. Epstein files, that's huge. It's huge. And let's be honest, they tried to cover it up. It's not like they fumbled that. It's not like they made a mistake. They engaged in an active cover-up, and they failed only because of a revolt within their own party. And now Marjorie Greene is an outcast. She was like the MAGA congresswoman. She was like the one in Congress who came after Trump won the election. She's an outcast because she led the coup to get the Epstein files released. That's a big one. Then you got the deportations. They haven't started on the border wall. And even though they secured the border, look, they secured the border in 2020. What good did that do when Joe Biden came into power? Nothing, because then he just overturned all the executive orders and they came pouring in. That's why you need the wall. They haven't started it. 230,000 deportations. It isn't happening. And now we're in a regime change war with Iran. You've been around. I've been around not as long as you, but for some time. Regime change in Iran is like synonymous with the neocons' ultimate master plan. That is like the number one thing on Israel's wish list.
It's the jewel in the crown. It was the whole Middle East strategy in the Rebuilding America's Defenses PNAC plan 2020 or 2000 was this.
This is why I wanted to watch this content. This is why I wanted to watch this content, and I'm kind of annoyed that you guys didn't want to. You guys, I'm saying you guys, I mean Destiny. Let's be real. I mean Destiny, and I mean the black pillars in Destiny's camp. You guys are acting like the dissident right wing is in charge of everything. They're mass deporting all these Hispanics. All the government is corrupt. Like everybody's going along with the plan, and it's all corrupt and it's all falling apart and all that kind of stuff. That's not what's going on. That's not what's happening. Do you understand how disappointed these people are in the Trump administration? Do you understand that there's 11 million illegal aliens in the United States? And while substantial, I'm sure it's between 500,000 and 1 million people have been deported. But that is not 11. And they only have 4 years left to do it, or they don't even have 4 years. They have like 2 years left to do it, and they're going to be lame ducks by November. They got 2.5 years to do it. They're not going to get it done. They're not going to codify it by legislation. They're not going to be able to get it done. And guess what? If you defeat Trump, Nick thinks that an accelerationist left-wing tyrant liberalism, unironically what Destiny is advocating for, that liberal fascism is going to radicalize the population into voting for a unironic right-wing fascist. So how is the acceleration of Destiny being fucking blackpilled and saying unironically we need to do liberal fascism? How is that not exactly the same plan as the accelerationists? It's fucking crazy. It's actually legitimately fucking crazy. And so your enemies are weak. You're on the verge of winning the midterms. You're on the verge of turning Trump into a lame duck for the last year and a half of his presidency. And then not only that, if you win in 28, you can solidify that victory and you can set the tempo of the country going forward. And yet you're acting like you're fucking at the, what is it? The Battle of Helm's Deep. There are 10,000 orcs surrounding you. They're climbing the walls. If they get over the walls, they're going to massacre you. And what you don't realize, it's the opposite. The cavalry, like the fucking Gandalf and the cavalry, are on the hill. The sun is rising. It's the third day. It's the time to charge. And you guys are fucking crazy. It's crazy to me how black-pilled and shitty the entirety of Destiny's worldview and the black pillars in DGG are. And yet this is the kind of rhetoric that you're getting out of the dissident right. They know they're on the cusp of defeat. How are you freaking the fuck out? Why are you spurging? It's crazy. Anyways, let me engage with chat for a second. We got 35 minutes left in the goal. We're currently at an 8 out of 10. So if you got $2 in your pocket, $5 in your pocket, $10 in your pocket, 2 heroes pushing us over the goal would be appreciated. We are going to be running until like 12:45, 1 p.m. So, yeah. If you're interested in that, then please push us over the goal. I'll reset the goal. Then we'll be done for the day at 1 p.m. And then I'll go do the Valor Reacts on Twitch with Dan Pace. But let me read it. BoomerCon equals MAGA. It's really that simple. No, it's not. Doomsday on YouTube. Never seen the channel before today. Okay. Snurgle says, who is the lefty Nick Fuentes? Kyle Kalinske is the closest thing that comes to mind. Kind of. Just Julius says, Trump does everything unilaterally. Congress and Senate changing to Dem majority changes nothing. Except for you can reverse everything via executive order, you dipstick. Just Julius, I love you. I hope you become a community member forever. But do you understand how fucking stupid it is to have somebody pass everything by executive order, and then if you win in 26 and win in 28, you can reverse his entire policy agenda? The fucking Destiny's only rebuttal to that is like, oh yeah, well, damage was done. Okay, that's politics, bitch. That's politics. Sometimes your enemies win, sometimes you win. That's politics in a democracy. If you don't think that your agenda is sometimes going to be pushed back, you don't want to live in a democracy. You want to live in a dictatorship, you fucking retard. Sorry, not you, but Destiny. That was like one of the dumbest fucking things I ever heard. Conserve says, what? You think the Dems taking half of Congress will set a tempo? Are you high? Trump will rule by EO for the next 2 years, and even if anything gets through the Senate, you guys are... I can't... I wish I could grab you by the shoulders and scream in your fucking face. Boog says, maybe I'm blackpilled, but I just view this as what always happens. These guys can't exist when that guy is in charge. They can only exist in opposition to the ones in power. Apparently. Because Destiny is not looking at the midterms, he's looking towards future elections. Okay. I wish I could grab you by the shoulders and scream in your face. You think I'm like grumpy and angry and frustrated right now? I wish I could find each and every single one of you, grab you by your shoulders like this, shake you. Hedonic Samuel with the 5 says some heroes don't wear capes. They wear non-slip shoes, based. We need one more hero. One more hero. Can anyone include Connor provide a real-world example of MAGA backing down? Yeah. The gerrymandering. Unfortunately, you're not listening to me when I say things. Okay? The gerrymandering in Indiana. The Republican state representatives wanted to gerrymander. But then the Trump administration came in and said, you're gonna gerrymander or else. And then the people from the state of Indiana said, fuck you. You're in DC. You don't tell us what to do. And so they didn't fucking gerrymander. Now, does that change your calculus at all? That you asked a question and I answered it? Connor, joke's on you. This is my fetish. Well, that makes sense. Christian Lair says, skip to 5 minutes of the end of Black Hawk Down to increase the time to Connor and Dan to react to Generation Kill. Okay. Just Julie says, how did that work with tariffs, Connor? It got overturned and what happened? Please explain to me exactly what happened when Trump gets hold to fuck off on tariffs. The Supreme Court ruled that that the tariffing responsibility primarily lies with Congress. And so that gutted the Trump tariffs. And then Trump says, oh, well, I'm going to try these other emergency things until they get challenged. And then he did other emergency things. And guess what? Those things are going to get challenged and they're going to go through the courts. You guys actually don't believe in democracy. That's what's so fucking crazy about this. It's like the road gets a little bit rough and you don't believe in like the balance of power or the institutions as they exist or due process of law or the ability of Congress to challenge the presidency. It's actually like, you know what's blackpilling to me? It's how fucking, oof. All right, hold on. That's getting spicy. I find your lack of faith disturbing. That's the best thing that I can say. I find my own chat that is 70% filled with liberals wanting to go to liberal fascism because they didn't get their way through electoral politics. I find that your lack of faith, I find disturbing. Anyways.
Yes, and even further than that, going back to clean break in 96, this has always been the plan. And for a time, we thought that was unthinkable. We thought that Trump winning made that impossible. So for Trump to be the one to take us there and sell it and push it and trigger it, and now we're in a regime change war with Iran, it's almost unbelievable to even say that.
Brother, it took a year to set the first things of tariffs. If he gets 12 months of tariffs out of it, it's not a win. Laugh my ass off. How did you not get this, big dog? Number one, talking to me condescendingly is going to piss me the fuck off, Just Julius. Number two, how long do you think it takes a court case to get in front of the fucking Supreme Court? You think 12 months is a long time? Like you're acting confidently, but you seem not to understand how republicanism works. You seem not to understand that the executive takes action, gets challenged in courts, it makes its way through lower courts, and then eventually it gets up to the Supreme Court. You understand that's how our system works and has worked arguably for 250 fucking years, right? I'm not the one who's ignorant. You're the one who doesn't know how our fucking system works. Fellrunner, can you steel man why we're having trouble with faith in the system? Sure. Not going to. Not going to, though. Because I think your context is too narrow. You're way too fucking narrow. You're way too narrow. You're looking at America in your lifetime. And you're looking at the way that Obama did things and the way that Bush did things and the way that Clinton did things and the way that I don't know who the fuck else was in there during that time, okay? That's what you're looking at. Okay? Whereas I'm looking at 250 years of context. So in the beginning of the country, we didn't even have the Bill of Rights. We had the Articles of Confederation. They didn't even want to do the Bill of Rights and the constitutional amendments because they thought the Articles of Confederation were enough. So for the first 30 years, we just had the Articles of Confederation. Throughout the entirety of the 19th century, you think that what we're doing to Mexicans right now is bad? It's fucking patty cake compared to what we were doing to Native Americans. We were straight fucking up Native Americans through armed conflict and ethnic displacement for the entirety of the 19th century. You want to talk about fucking violations of due process and civil rights? Take a look at the history of the 19th century. Holy fucking shit. Not even to mention chattel slavery. Okay? Not even to mention the creation and dissolution of the central bank, along with a variety of a half dozen currencies. That you think crypto's bad? You should check out the 19th century history of state currencies and private currencies. It's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. Okay? Then we had chattel slavery. Then we fought an existential civil war where 500,000 Americans died in armed conflict to reunify the Union and end chattel slavery. And that was right before, I know that's 1865, but you understand Civil War veterans were around during World War I and World War II. So we went over to Europe and we had existential wars that killed hundreds of thousands of Americans in the 1910s and in the 1940s. And the Civil War veterans were the grandparents of the veterans who did one of the most existential armed conflicts in human history. And those were my grandparents. Then we rolled into the Cold War in which socialism and communism wasn't this flawed system that we knew was on the verge of collapse. We thought that socialism and communism were true competitors to mixed economy capitalism and liberal democracy, and it was not known whether or not liberal democracy and mixed economy capitalism was going to survive the next century. And not only that, our communist rivals had nuclear weapons and technology comparable to us, including sometimes more advanced military technology, more advanced space exploration technology. And we had communist sympathizers in our own societies who were cheering on these developments and stating that we needed to have a bloody revolution in order to establish a socialist America. And then finally, socialism and communism collapsed in the late 20th century, and China reverted to state capitalism, and we became the preeminent power. So just looking at that, all of that is before Clinton, all of that is before Bush, all of that is before Trump and all that kind of shit. This is bitch shit. This is pussy shit. You are living through hard times, but these hard times are just as hard as the 1960s and the 1970s. They're arguably nowhere near as hard as the 1940s. They're arguably nowhere near as hard as the 1910s. They're arguably nowhere near as hard as the 1860s. They're arguably nowhere near as hard as the 1830s or the 1770s or the 1780s. You guys are being fucking pussies. You guys are being pussies, and it's fucking pissing me off. We have survived much worse than Trump, and we will survive Trump. You don't throw our republic in the trash because you get a little worried sometimes. Go take your fucking pills, smoke some weed, chill with your friends, have some beers, and chill the fuck out. It's gonna be fine. God damn. Hedonic Samuel, thank you for being the hero. All right, I'll finish the goal, but you got to react to Sarcasmatron someday, Connor. Deal. Thank you for finishing the goal. I'll reset the goal. God damn. That's why. That's why I wanted to watch this content. That rant was in there. I'm literally showing you your enemy's weak, and you're crying about it. Hit the anxiety pen, you fucking pussies. Give your balls a tug.
Thousands of American and Israeli airstrikes destroying Iran's military. Here's how I feel about it. If you will tolerate that, you will.
Sacred Snow says, I agree not to throw the Republic in the trash because things get scary. If you agree not to throw the Republic in the trash because robots are cool. Deal.
Tolerate anything. Like at what point do you say no? At what point do you say there's no excuses? People say, well, if there's boots on the ground, dude, they're dropping bombs everywhere, and it's in Iran. So for me, I said that's the last straw. I'm out. And you know me, I'm the furthest thing from a Democrat. I'm far right. I'm not left wing or even liberal. I don't consider myself even a center liberal or a right liberal.
Let's talk about that. Democrats get in. Isn't that an accelerationist?
No, I think that I don't know that I would characterize it as accelerationist. I would characterize it as corrective. And it's sending a message to the GOP before the big one, which is 28.
Yeah, you're saying the only leverage we've got is the wake-up call.
Right. And, 28, we got to win that one. I really believe a Republican's got to win, but we need it to be the right Republican. And I don't know that there's any other language they will understand other than to show them we're not showing up in 26. And what's more, I also think that Vance and...
I'm asking what the prescriptions are. Are you not watching the content? Fellrunner? Valorfax? My most loyal soldier? Here's your prescriptions. Don't squander political momentum leading up to the midterms. Encourage aggressive voting in midterms in order to have a sweeping majority in the House, a strong minority in the Senate, and ideally a weak majority in the Senate. That's step one. That's the next 6 months. Okay? So if you take all the anxiety and fear that you have and you channel it into phone banking, canvassing, or supporting people who are phone banking and canvassing, do that. give me a $10 super chat for making content that you enjoy, then give $10 to Unfuck America or Progressive Victory or some other Democratic PAC that is working to make the midterms good. That's step one, and that's the next 6 months of your life. So you know what your job is? You get paid on the first. You give me a $10 super chat for entertaining you. You get paid on, and then you give $10 to UFA. Okay? That's step one. And then on the 15th, you know what you do again? You give me a $10 super chat, and then you give a $10 super chat to UFA. Okay? That's step one. Step two. After you win the midterms, make Donald Trump a lame duck for 2 years while passing any bipartisan legislation that actually improves the lives of Americans. So that means call your congressman. That means pressure your congressman through emails and calls when you hear about legislation that you think actually should get passed. Enforce the Epstein files, emails and calls to your representative in order to say, hey, the federal government is not complying with past legislation. This is important to me. You need to enforce this. That way we can damage the Republicans. Well, not the Republicans in general, from my perspective, but we can damage the MAGA movement and we can damage J.D. Vance's run in 2028 and we can damage Donald Trump. That's step three. Step four, attempt impeachment even if incarceration is not possible so you can get a few Republican defectors. Okay, that's like step five. Step six, run a white straight male. If you want to run Tallarico, run Tallarico. If you want to run John Ossoff, run John Ossoff. If you want to run Shapiro, run Shapiro. If you want to run, my recommendation is Newsom. Okay? My recommendation is Newsom. Gen X says for $10, step one is admitting you have a problem. No, I don't have a problem. I'm addicted to rage. Okay? I love rage, and I'm going to die an angry person. Get a straight white male who appeals to normies and win the 2028 elections. And they need to have enough cojones to be able to take the fight to Marco Rubio or JD Vance and call them out on their bullshit. Win the 2028 election, pass the reforms for pardon power, pass the treason and sedition exclusions to pardon power, expand DOJ for sedition and treason, clamp down on foreign disinfo and FARA violations, clarify the process for the 14th Amendment insurrection process, enforce voter fraud statutes, use the FCC to enforce disinformation violations and the furtherance of crimes, then pass a legislative agenda that's good for the American people. This should occupy you for the next 3 years, 4 years. This is 4 years worth of work. So when you say, Connor, what are the prescriptions? Here are the prescriptions. Okay. Somebody said this is the straw man map, but like, I straw manned you because it's so like nebulous. You're like, do this, but also Fed post. Mark Kelly. I love Mark Kelly. I would vote for Mark Kelly. I just don't think, I think Democrats don't like Mark Kelly. And he's true, because he's married to Gabby Giffords, the gun control topic, he's going to get fucking raped on. Fashion 40 says, Connor, I mentioned this earlier, and you may not have seen this, but I think Nick's Groypers, Hassan, and far leftists are just co-opting the Democratic Party and destroying it from the inside. Yeah, no, I think you're right. Gavin Newsom is going to do a podcast with Hassan. God, this is really bleak. I have to watch that. God, I have to watch that. That's going to be bad. Fellrunner says, can you provide a steel man of the liberal prescriptions from Destiny's side, like realistic, not vague? No. No, I can't. Because I asked what Destiny wanted to do, and he said, we are going to create the outcomes, and then we're going to do whatever the fuck we want in order to create the outcomes. That's what he said to me. So no, I don't know what the prescriptions are. The prescriptions were like, incarcerate and or bar all MAGA complicit people for their actions in the Trump administration. And then I was like, how are you going to do that? And he's like, we're just going to make shit up. We're just going to make shit up and see what sticks. That's... how am I supposed to steelman that? That sounds retarded. Randy Chang says, you should watch more Hassan. I don't know why everyone hates him. New hire at the office. Fist fight that guy, Randy Chang. Challenge him to a fist fight in the parking lot and fist fight him. All right. Back to it.
Rubio are to blame in this as well. If they couldn't stop a war in Iran when they're in power now, how are they going to make the decision when they become the president?
We knew Rubio's a deep state guy. He's been, quote, doing a good job for what we wanted till now. But Vance was an open thing. He's come out now and said we may be there in a long war. So Vance is definitely getting in line with that. In fact, speaking of the devil, let's go to those clips first. Here's Thune, the leader of the Senate, saying Trump doesn't need a war powers. He has authorization, which no, he doesn't. This is pure war, folks. This is not blow up their weapons. This is regime change. And then Vance saying the same thing and then saying basically this could be a forever war. And then I want to go through these other clips.
Thank you, Tom Fultz, for the membership. I appreciate you, King.
But here it is.
Do you think the Congress would need to authorize any military action against Iran beyond the 60-day or 90-day window?
No. I think the president has the authority that he needs to conduct the activities, the operations that are currently underway there. And as you know, there's a lot of controversy around, questions around the War Powers Act, but I think the president is acting in the best interest.
You know what causes one amputation every 8 seconds in the world? Type 2 diabetes.
Vazraka, thank you for the gifted. Hold on, I was trying to watch this.
Try this before bed. Eliminates the diabetes.
The nation and our national security interests by ensuring that he's protecting Americans and American bases and installations in that region, as well as those of our allies.
We'll go back and get Nick Fuentes' take on this, but Marco Rubio yesterday. Israel launched the attack. They were going to attack us. We had to attack them because they would attack us if we attacked them. Thune just said, we attacked them, so they're going to attack us, so now we have to authorize the war. So we attack somebody, so the president has a War Powers Act because he has the power to attack somebody. I mean, this is insane. Continue.
The United States has a lot of optionality here. And, you know, we could go for a little bit longer. We could go for a lot longer. But I think the president just wants to make it clear to the Iranians and to the world that he is not going to rest until he accomplishes that all-important objective of ensuring.
Okay, same team. Ceasefire. Okay? Listen, Christian Vlaris, I'm back on your team, okay? Listen, Hassan ain't that bad. Triple dots, fist emoji. Okay. See, unload, show clear, ceasefire. Same team. Okay, you won me back.
That Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, not just for the next few years, not just because we obliterated Fordow or some other enrichment facility, but because the Iranians themselves commit long-term to not building a nuclear weapon.
So we've gone from, we successfully destroyed their nuclear stuff, which I said was BS, to now total war. Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, they said last year that the program was completely obliterated. And, you know, we've almost even talked past the point. It's sort of interesting. Last year, the pretext for bombing Iran in the first place was that they were racing towards a nuclear bomb. When Israel hit Iran on June 13, 25, they said, well, Iran was going to strike us, and they were racing towards a device. That's why we had to preempt that by striking them. And then, of course, the U.S. intervened to finish the job at Fordow and Natanz, which only we could do with the bunker busters from the B-2 bombers. Well, then, in January, when these protests started in Iran, all of a sudden that shifted. And Trump came out and said, well, we were going to attack Iran, but we couldn't topple the regime in one blow. And you say, well, wait a second. I thought Israel and the United States attacked Iran last year because they were on their way to a nuke, but then we took care of it and we blew up their program. Now they're saying, well, we couldn't bomb Iran at our discretion in January because it wasn't going to topple the regime. And you say, topple the regime? I thought it was about the nuclear program. And like you say, now we're in it. Now we're in a full-fledged regime change war. And you wonder, who made this decision exactly? Who voted for this? Why is this happening? Arguably, it is within, I think, America's interest to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. And if they're about to imminently acquire them, a case could be made. I don't know that I would make it, but in a theoretical, a case could be made that the United States might preempt that by intervening in Iran.
The point is they've abandoned that cover story, and Trump says, oh, we killed 47, now we'll kill the rest. It's all about regime change now, which under the law is illegal to preemptively.
Well, QC John says, what is the best sandwich in the world, and why is it a Philly cheesesteak? Because, shit, I'm probably getting a Philly cheesesteak now just based off of you saying that. Because you get thinly sliced beef steak strips covered in cheese, peppers, and if you guys haven't tried Jersey Mike's, I actually like Jersey Mike's a lot. I really do. Out of Jimmy John's, Jersey Mike's, and Firehouse, I actually like Jersey Mike's the best because they have something called a Big Kahuna. And I'm pretty sure it's just a Philly cheesesteak with red and yellow peppers and jalapenos. Holy shit. A Big Kahuna, which is a Philly cheesesteak, red and yellow peppers, jalapenos, and then honey mustard. I'm in heaven. Whenever I want beef and I eat that, I'm in paradise. It's beautiful. Excuse me.
Attack somebody saying, I want regime change. So Trump's being set up.
Yeah. Send Patriarch says, easy way to get to Connor's heart, state your position, and then go Hassan's bad, by the way. Unironically, next time you guys are typing something, you know Booby Bear? Booby Bear was the former safe word that made it so when you said something that was upsetting to me, Booby Bear was like a condescending way to say that we still have parasocial love and therefore I would be less upset. If you wanna change that to Hassan is bad, by the way, I think I'd forgive almost anything. It's like Food Shops has the best content on the internet. She's the best creator and she should be the next Destiny or Vosh. Hassan is bad, by the way. And then I'd be like, You could say some wild shit. And as long as you put Hassan is bad, by the way, at the end of it, I'd be like, I. Oh my God. Fell Runner for 10 says, your chat is mostly centrist on one side or the other, Chapter Master, and we are 8,000 IQ. Stop assuming we agree with Destiny DGG by default. Most of us would have been praising Hutch all week. Sure. Okay, but Fell Runner, you should also be smart enough. My chat should be smart enough that if the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. Okay? If I'm yelling at my chat and I'm saying the DGG black pill is dumb, and you're like, I personally don't believe in the DGG black pill, maybe we should be creative in this way, that way, the other way, but realistically, I do want to stabilize the Republic of the United States as maximally as possible, so I'm right in between Hutch and Destiny, but I think Destiny's Fed posting and going a little crazy with it. If what I'm talking about doesn't fit you, then don't put on the shoe. If the shoe, like the same way that if the shoe fits, wear it. If the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. I'm clearly not yelling at you specifically. You know what I'm saying? I'm yelling at some other fucking dickhead. Okay?
Up here with major impeachment charges.
Well, and they're throwing everything out there. It's the dead protesters. It's the nuclear program. It's the missiles. It's just like Iraq. It's exactly like Iraq. Oh, they're building a nuke, but also they did the anthrax plot, also 9/11. They just throw everything out there in the hopes that enough people are going to buy it. And like you said, there's nothing legal about this. What is the authorization for the use of force against Iran? Did Congress declare?
Where can I get one of these big kahunas? Jersey Mike's. So I don't know if Jersey Mike's is a normal thing wherever you live. But effectively around me, there's like 3 or 4 chains of Subway sandwiches shops. Not Subways, of sandwich shops. So Subway's obviously the big dog, but that's like the McDonald's, dude. Nobody really fucks with Subway anymore unless like you want something cheap and fast and you're hungry and you don't want McDonald's. That's why you eat Subway, right? But if you're looking for fast and good, but kind of bland, then I would say Jimmy John's is fine. Like a Jimmy John's Italian or a Jimmy John's tuna. It's not great, but it's fine. So in a pinch, if you want a sandwich, the vibe could hit right and Jimmy John's is okay. Firehouse used to be good. Firehouse subs used to be good, where they actually like put a lot of intent into their menu and their ingredients and the way that they made shit. But it seems like probably 5 or 10 years into their existence, they started cost maximizing. And so they kind of adopted shittier ingredients, more McDonald's ingredients, but they kept the same menu. So they had a good recipe, but they had shitty ingredients. And so if you had like a barbecue Firehouse sub 10 years ago or 20 years ago, and you had one now, it's actually it's a disappointing experience. Because you eat it and you're like, I remember what this used to taste like when this brand gave a fuck about their product, and it was way better than this. This is fucking trash. So that's actually where, you know, Firehouse has disappointed me probably for 10 or 15 years now. I went to them in high school, and then I went to them when I came back for college, and I've actually been consistently disappointed by Firehouse in the modern era. Now, Jersey Mike's, I think that they're pretty like mid ingredients and like mid creativity with their menu, but it's good. And you can tell that they didn't try to cost cut everywhere. They cost cut in places where you can kind of be like, this could be a little bit better, this could be a little bit better. But it's still consistently good enough that it's a good experience. Without dropping if you want to drop $10 or $15 on a large sandwich and a chips and a drink, Jersey Mike's is pretty fucking dope. If you want to drop like 30 or 40, obviously the $30 or $40 sandwich is going to blow away the $13 sandwich. But if you're looking for a $13 sandwich, in my area, it's pretty much the best $13 sandwich you can get out of all the sandwich shops. So, anyways.
Declare war. At what point was this decision made, and exactly by whom? So I don't know that this is impeachable, because ironically, the Democrats support it too. Chuck Schumer came out of the closed door hearing with.
Patriarch says Epstein did nothing wrong. The song's bad, by the way. Nice.
Marco Rubio at the State of the Union, or the afternoon of, and said, well, this is very serious and Trump's just going to have to make his case. There's a lot of Democrats that support this. Guys like John Fetterman, among others.
They're stepping back to not take any problems if it goes sideways, but they're behind it.
100%. I think so. And I don't think they would move against him for that. So
here's Trump saying that, no, he forced Israel's hand, even though on record the Pentagon admitted, no, we didn't know. They took the opportunity, so we had to hit. The Secretary of State says that Trump makes him come out and say that wasn't true. Talk about congressional hearings now. What's going to happen to Rubio when he's in front of Congress? So
Commander Crick says, I fed the argumentation of Destiny and Hutch to ChatGPT, and they said they said Destiny's argumentation was better. How was it better?
Oh, this is very embarrassing right now. Here is Trump saying that they made him Trump forced Israel's hand to strike first during the middle of the day against our doctrine. And then why do you think Rubio came out yesterday and said Israel forced our hand? What do you think the impetus behind that was? Here it is.
President, did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did Netanyahu pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. But Israel was ready and we were ready. And we've had a very, very powerful impact.
Well, since the 80s, Iran has not launched an attack first. Every attack has been a response, a retaliatory attack. I mean, that is literally pulled out of Trump's butt, Nick.
It is. And
Skillful Dunce for 5. Thank you for the donation, King. The Cuban sandwich is arguably a uniquely American sandwich created in Tampa, used all the local immigrant ingredients, created a great sandwich. For sure. For sure. The you guys keep mentioning, like, Silver mentions Yugos or something like that. There are things that blow the shit out of the corporate chains, right? For instance, we used to have this place. Fuck, I almost forget the name. Got Pom-Poms. Pom-Poms, dude. I took everybody to Pom-Poms. If you wanted a badass sandwich in Orlando, I took you to Pom-Poms. Pom-Poms was like a dozen stoner hipsters. One of them knew how to bake like a motherfucker. Another one knew how to make tea like a motherfucker. So they had like 20 different teas. They had 20 different kinds of cupcakes that were delicious. Holy shit. And then their sandwiches were through the roof. And they only charge like $10, $15 for like a whole meal. So once again, you're paying like fast food-ish prices these days, and you're getting a badass meal. And their sandwiches just absolutely annihilated any other sandwich because it was a hipster joint. It was like a one-off hipster joint with 3 or 4 incredible food artists. But in order to keep up with that scene, it's easier to keep track of like chains that you like, obviously, versus finding the one-off hole-in-the-wall hipster joint. That's harder. That's harder. Real serious with 100 Argentinian pesos. Is it wrong of me to think that this admin is doing this with even less justification than Bush in Iraq, or is that too wild? No, you're right. You're right. So, real serious. Iraq had arguably a 10-year buildup and a 2-year argument in front of the American people about justifications for going to Iraq. So during the Persian Gulf War, we kicked Iraq's ass in order to get them out of Kuwait. Then we did a no-fly zone, and we had bristling tensions with them for a decade up until 2003. Then Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney wanted to get back into Iraq so they could give Halliburton and KBR juicy contracts so they could make their Gulf buddies filthy rich. But also, Saddam Hussein was a huge piece of shit. And because of 9/11 2001 and George W. Bush wanting an authorization for use of military force in Iraq, we effectively had like a 2-year public debate about whether or not deposing Saddam Hussein was just and whether or not going after the weapons of mass destruction program was accurate. And then only after 2 years of really extensive and aggressive debate did we actually invade Iraq. So no, this whole just like fly by night. I think the air campaign in Iran is actually really comparable to what we did during the shock and awe campaign in Iraq. And so just unilaterally launching a shock and awe air campaign comparable to the opening stages of the invasion of Iraq with zero consultation with Congress and the American people. This is actually fucking bananas. Like I want to kill the Ayatollah, but I want to overthrow the Iranian regime. But the fact that we just did this randomly is fucking bananas. Commander Crick says, it essentially said that Hutch was arguing far more for prudence rather than directly refuting Destiny's argument. It was a close debate, though, according to the bot. I don't trust bots, but whatever. All right, I need to use the restroom. I'll be right back.
That's exactly what happened last year, too. Israel came in and Trump said, oh, we knew they were doing it. They told us, and the whole negotiations were a ruse. It's almost just childish to see Trump in the White House spin. Well, actually, I forced Israel to do it. This is when Trump just becomes grating. You know, all those things we thought were charming 10 years ago or endearing or funny. Now it's just grating and insufferable. He's obviously full of it. There's nothing true about that at all. This idea that, like you say, that Iran was about to attack us. Really? We have 2 carriers there. We got a dozen warships, 50,000 soldiers, half of our Air Force, and Iran was going to start the war against us. Does that even make any sense? That is completely made up.
And then Rubio says Israel launched an attack, so we had to because they were going to attack us. Now Trump goes, no, they were going to attack us with no information. I mean, I'm sorry, folks. I wanted to support Trump. I support the killing the carbon. That's why I hate this, because he's done a lot of good. We're watching Trump self-immolate on live television.
It is. It's a complete unraveling, and it's clear what happened there. I think Look, J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, they want to run for president in 28. So they know that their butt is on the line here. If this Iran war doesn't go well, there go their presidential ambitions. And so I think that when Rubio comes out and says, well, Israel made us do it, obviously, this is like a real-time narrative construction so that when in 28 he's questioned about it on the debate stage, if this becomes a debacle, this is hedging. He can say, well, we didn't have any options. We had the choice. Either we go in with Israel at the beginning or Americans die. Well, I chose to, that's going to be the argument. That's going to be the campaign speech. That'll be the, screenshot this. In a few years, that is what he's going to say on the debate stage. We had a choice. If we didn't act, then more Americans would have died. And I stood with Trump. We made the bold decision to go in and blah, blah. That is clearly going to be the answer.
And by the way, you're on a roll. You're on a roll. We got a whole other hour coming up, but let me just stop you. I said at the first of the show, they're going to use the insurance company shutting down the Strait of Hormuz as the claim that we've got to put a beachhead on the Iranian side so they can't close it to secure it for trade. I said I believe that'll be the excuse for boots on the ground, which they floated in the last 2 days, which Eric Prince freaked out about, rightfully. Ladies and gentlemen, he just put this out. Show the timestamp on this, guys. Scroll down. Pull it up. I just saw this now. Trump is now saying he signed an executive emergency order basically for war. If anybody tries to close the strait, it's already closed. So this is him using economic emergency powers to have an unofficial declaration of war. Nick, this is horrible. This is really bad. This is boots on the ground. So this is just a few minutes ago. What do you make of this, Nick Fuentes?
Well, it's like I said, we're being drawn in here. That is really the operative word. Nobody wants this. It's not in our interest. We are being slowly drawn in. And what that implies is that step by step, we're being dragged further into this. And that's always what happens. It always starts with, we're just putting maximum pressure sanctions. Well, we just killed Qasem Soleimani. Well, we just backed a cyber attack. It's always, we just did this one time. And all it does is increase our liability. It just increases our.
Drinking warm water with cinnamon before bed eliminates this parasite from the pancreas and resets blood sugar levels and reverses type 2. This is the last time I'm sharing this here. Just a 15-second native trick forces your body to
attack of the diabetes
stake in this disaster. And so it's very obvious. Okay, we go in with the bombs really hard. We destroy the Navy. We destroy the missile launch platforms. Okay, well, then you get this logic like, well, you break it, you bought it.
Sapien Green says, there's an old joke about the American military. If we don't know what we're doing, the enemy certainly can't anticipate our future actions. Trump certainly epitomizes that philosophy. Bruh. So true.
And now Iran inevitably is going to keep throwing missiles at us. We're running out of interceptors.
Horse God. I think I just got an email. So Horse God, via email, via PayPal. Thank you for the donation, by the way, King. Blue no matter who. Talarico/Blue 2026. GOP is weak. Remember to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of their women. Screw YouTube super chats. Thank you, King. Much appreciated.
So what do you do now? Iran is going to close the Strait of Hormuz. That's going to shut down 20% of the oil trade. What do you do now? Again, you're being drawn in step by step, and our share of this, our stake in this, is always increasing until you wake up and you find you're in this unthinkable scenario. So that's why I say I don't know that we could rule out boots on the ground in the future.
Oh, but that's the plan. People go, oh, the executive order just says they'll protect the ships. Yeah, they're going to do it with troops. I already saw it. People, we got a whole other hour coming up, but how people find you, Nick?
All right. Does anybody have when he cries specifically? I'm looking for Alex Jones crying. Let's do that. That looks good.
You don't care. There's people that calculate whatever the current power structure is.
Blade says, will you ever do a conversation with Richard Spencer? Why do you think Destiny has stopped using arguments and is only just trying to focus on framing and vague questions? Well, I think if Destiny's audience, I'll answer the first question in a second, but I think Destiny's audience they just want him to win, right? So if he's dunking on someone, if he's beating them up every 20 seconds, if they get flustered, if they freak out, that's what people want. They want blood. They want their pound of flesh. So for Destiny, that's kind of like a win condition. However, I did find it interesting that when I went on to his show yesterday and I kind of said like, hey, here's my beef with your Konstantin Kisin performance and why I felt like you were being obtuse in the earlier parts of the debate, he was like, yeah, you're not the only person who said that, so I'm going to address that later on by watching the content and breaking it down. And so I think that Destiny is still susceptible to criticisms from his friends, but also from his audience when he's not being substantive. And so the good faith thing might be out the window. Like he might not want to be good faith with MAGA or contrarian right-wing creators anymore. He might just want to dunk on them and make them look like idiots. But I think he does know that that is chum. It's blood and meat in the water for the Debate Bro audience. But the smarter elements of his audience don't just want to see him dunk on his opposition through rhetorical tactics. We actually want to see him dunking on his opponents via something substantive and deep. And so, yeah, I think that he's still susceptible to that. Would I talk to Richard Spencer? Absolutely. I should probably DM him. He followed both of my old profiles. So I think that like through Stardust or through his little connections into Twitch and YouTube politics, or maybe some debates with Destiny, if he's kind of like watching some of that stuff, I think Richard Spencer knows who I am. Maybe. I don't want to presume. Obviously, he's like a big figure, even if he's kind of like on the outs. But I would talk to Richard Spencer. Shit, I talked to JF Gary Epi, and I think there's like a 55% chance that he murdered his wife. Like I think there's like a 51-49, 55-45 chance that JF Gary Epi murdered his wife. And I talked to him, and I had a pretty interesting debate. So yeah, I'm not above talking to thought leaders and creators who are morally repugnant to the public, but they make good content. So I'm probably gonna have to do it on a Tuesday, because I very much doubt that Valor Media Network wants to be associated with Richard Spencer at all. But I would talk to Richard Spencer on my channel. So Zena says 100%, maybe. Who knows? Gen X said something about Connor and Hutch. Where was it? I lost it. Connor, if you have time, I would love for you and Hutch to hash out your prescriptions. Yeah, sure. We should. Connor plus Hutch second round. Yeah, sure. Maybe not today, because my brain is fried. But in general, absolutely. I'll talk to Hutch next week. I'll DM him and I'll say, hey, bro, some of our mutual audience and or people who want to challenge you on your Destiny shit, they want to talk about prescriptions. And I think we could hash that. That'd be fun. Someone in Hutch's chat said, but Counterpoints is conservative. I know. That's like the genetic fallacy, man. I'll get back to the content in a second. But for real, like, people think that they can just assign a political tribe to you, and therefore they should not consider a single fucking thing you've said. And if we ever had people like that in the COG, I would want a Sudoku. You should consider arguments based off of their value, like their argumentative value, and whether or not they resonate with your perspective of the world, not whether or not they emanate from a source that you trust. It's stupid. Well, QC John says, weren't you on a panel with Spencer and Stardust 3 or 4 years ago? Am I making that up? Do you remember that? I don't remember being on a panel with Richard Spencer. I think I thought about it. I think I probably watched some content with Richard Spencer because I was surprised that Stardust was being friends with Richard Spencer. So I don't think that happened. But if it did, I also wouldn't be surprised. Conserve says, but what if it comes out of a face hole I don't like? I don't know what to do for you, King. There's lots of interesting ideas that come out of face holes that I don't like. So, anyways, continuing.
Here's to go along with that.
This one's bright. I'm turning this down.
And then there's people that do what's right and don't think about the consequences because it's spiritual ingrained in them to do the right thing. And you gotta have a fourth group that are good but are scared to tell the truth. And you can add a lot of other groups, subgroups to that. But people always ask who pays you, who does this. I sell you stuff straight up, supplements, books, T-shirts, whatever. It's all great stuff. But I love the truth. I love humanity. I am a good person. My ancestors were good. I never really thought of talking.
Yeah, Blade. I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend you check out my VOD. So Blade is saying, the reason I say vagueness questions is he basically took questions where you can't get necessary and sufficient conditions. What is culture, cultural identity over time, and then just threw it to the wind. I strongly recommend, Blade, because you're asking the right questions. So I strongly recommend you go to Counterpoints Politics, where I post my VODs. Excuse me. I actually strongly recommend everybody does this if you haven't seen it yet. Ooh, The Expanse, The Battle of Ganymede. Let's go! If you're into The Expanse, we should do that. Counterpoints Politics. Go to Counterpoints Politics and check out this conversation between me and Destiny. I released it this morning. Destiny versus Counterpoints, Constantine debate, culture, nationalism, and mass immigration. This is me pressing Destiny on that, the vagueness and obtuseness with which he approached the Constantine Kisin debate. So if you're looking for firm answers, I don't even think I really got firm answers of Destiny. I just don't think he was a dick about it. So go check that content out. I think it's good content.
Measuring up to them. I never really talk about my ancestors because it's like I'm going to live off them, but it's ridiculous. I'm all the way back to William the Conqueror and the old kings of England and, the inventor of the stock exchange and the Greshams just on my mom's side. And then they all got kicked out. So this is a mistake. They're always like, who's the boss? Where's the money? Who tells you what to say? They cannot believe for years till they depose the whole crew. Like, who tells you what to say? They don't even get, like, this is real, because for them, they're slaves. It's all handed down to them, every fucking word they say. So speak to authenticity. If you say what you want about Nick Fuentes, you are your own man. You're not a Fed. You're not controlled. You're your own 26, 27, 28, whatever it is now, young man. And that very idea threatens them that there's so much native talent that God gave us through our species.
Well, that's the thing. They're now trying to reverse engineer me. In the past year, they saw my clips go viral. They saw the show blow up. And now they're all trying to reverse engineer. And they want to say, well, what is the secret ingredient? Why are people listening to this guy? And in many ways, I'm sure they did the same with you.
It's authenticity and native intelligence.
Well, they try to characterize it and they say, well, it's because they're edgelording or they're offering something sensational or it's, all different types of things. And they're always looking at it on the cosmetic level. But what they're missing is that we are real and people can tell. We are trying to do our best. We are trying to tell the truth. We are guided by our conscience and people can pick up on that. You're a live streamer in a sense. You're on radio. I'm more of like I guess we're both in live streaming.
No, I've been live streaming since it started, yeah.
But you can't hide. You can't hide on a live stream. When you do a show for 3 hours a day, every day for 20 years, and I've done it for 10 years, there's nowhere to hide on that. Eventually people can
ask,
pick
how
up
do you
on
have energy? Because they got to calculate everything in 2 minutes. No, the answer is I don't calculate how I look. I already know what's true. Exactly. There's no energy to bullshit when you're on the air 4 hours a day.
Exactly. There's no pretense. There's no facade. There's nothing like that. And that's what people like. People are sick of being lied to. People are kind of dumb, but they can tell when they're being lied to sometimes. And I think that the basis of our appeal, or at least the reason why we have a fanatical following, people that follow us, really follow us, it's because there is that connection. They're tapped into the same thing that we are.
I think you're right. Overall, you're right. But the big thing is you're right. You've been right like 99% of the time, Nick. That's why.
I don't think I want to watch these guys jerk each other off. I think I want to watch something else. So, but what would I say? What would I say in reference to this content? We didn't find the exact clips, but apparently Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes are both extremely disappointed in the Trump administration, in the war in Iran. They view it as a betrayal of the base. They actually think that Trump is effectively a puppet who's being led around by the nose by the deep state and by Israel. They think that Marco Rubio and the other people, the other members of the deep state of the Trump admin have kind of like telegraphed their hand that Israel was going in with or without us. So like Israel was going to use F-35s to decapitate members of the Iranian government. And as a result, like what's going to happen is if Israel goes in and they do something so extreme, then the Iranians are going to respond by bombing everyone. So they're going to bomb U.S. bases. They're going to bomb the Gulf states. They're going to bomb everybody. So the United States says, okay, well, that kind of sucks. But, you know, in for a penny, in for a pound. And so we just went in super hardcore and supplemented not only the decapitation strikes against Iranian leadership, we supplemented it by attacking their ballistic missile launchers and programs and nuclear sites and all that kind of crap. And so as a result, Iran's response has been haphazard because so much of their leadership has been decapitated. So much of their logistics in reference to the ballistic missile programs and the drone programs have been struck and destroyed. And every time they launch, we hit whatever they use in order to launch. So I would say that if they were in earnest trying to launch drones and ballistic missiles for the next 2 weeks, there's a strong chance that we're going to wipe out like a substantial proportion of their military capacity through a concentrated air campaign. And we're just going to keep killing Iranian leadership until Iranian leadership says, okay, that's enough. We don't want a nuclear program, and we also want to normalize trade relations with the Gulf states and with the United States and with Israel. And we're just not interested in it anymore. We're good. So, yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. So Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes can freak the fuck out, and they can be pissed off that the neoconservatives are back in charge. They can be pissed off that the deep state has continued to exist even under Trump. They can be pissed off that the mass deportation operations are not as effective as they want them to be. They can die mad. They can die mad. Good for them. Anyways, like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. And yeah, Nick Fuentes has a shitload. If this is the official channel, I think this is the official channel. Maybe that's not the official channel. 738 followers? Yeah, I don't... This looks like the... Maybe this is a fan channel or something. I don't know. Who knows? Who cares? All right. Well, what else is going on, okay? Because we did 2 hours for or 90 minutes for our friend Justin. Justin, I hope you enjoyed the content. Oh, the Battle of Kashyyyk. Ah, Counterpoint Star Wars content. Let's go. Let's move that up here. So I have released new Counterpoint sci-fi, Counterpoint Star Wars content. So if you guys haven't checked it out yet, you should go check it out. It's good stuff. But maybe I should call Hutch.
Information before jumping to conclusions. I don't even think I jumped to any firm conclusions when you and I were speaking. I don't recall saying like it's 100% this or it's 100% that. I recall saying. You did. Wait, no. I recall saying that like that we should just like.
I'm gonna stream snipe and I'm gonna ask him for an invite.
Generally, wait for more information. I was leaning on the side of, oh, it looks like she like gunned it with him in front, but I think I left myself an opening to like change my mind if more information came out.
And I said that I had seen different angles and that I had been examining it the entire stream. And you're like, no, look at these tires. This is exactly the way it was.
You have such a...
Right there. This is why Pup is wrong.
What? All right, hang on.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on. What was the date of that? I can just look up the date of the VOD. We need to correct the record here, Missy.
Got a headache.
Is this just because you hate women? Is this what this is?
That's a part of it.
Good.
Not the whole thing.
Good. Leaning into the memes.
He admitted
Good.
He hates women.
It was January 7th, 2026. Hang on. I am so stubborn that I am willing to go back and like scrub through a 2-month-old VOD if it means proving you wrong. Okay, found the VOD.
All right, while he's doing
okay,
this, I'm
so
gonna
let's
fix I'm gonna fix my new video because I didn't put links to the original content.
Can I please check the pulse? There was no first responders. So
Shot someone in the fucking face!
Hold
Do
on.
you have a
These kinds of shootings, you know.
Anyway, in fact, they're hurt.
That seems fucking bizarre to me that they wouldn't let the ambulance into the crime scene. So it was 100% the same day, 100,000% the same day that I had came to a different conclusion about like whether or not she had tried
Not
to drive.
once during all that did you say, "Oh, Pup was right. I should have listened to her."
No, but you were working off of one video though. You were working off of one
I
video,
was
and it
working
did
off
not
of
look
3
great.
videos.
No, not in the beginning. No, that's not true. Wait, hang
Yes,
on.
I was.
I will scrub
yes,
through
I
this
was
VOD.
because I was on TikTok. I was
I will
on
scrub
Twitter.
through this VOD. Hold on.
So what did this chick say? Is anybody dual watching Jen Winkler? You're my betrayer, where you watch me for the first 30 minutes, then you get bored, and then whenever a liberal comes on, you flip over to them, but then sometimes you pop into the chat every now and then. So Jen Winkler, do you know what this woman's assertion is? Is she saying that the ICE shooting is based and Hutch should have agreed with her because she said it was based in the original idea, or did she say it was like straight up cold-blooded murder and Hutch was like being nuanced about it? What's the situation? I want to know if I'm going to keep listening to this because otherwise I'm going to get bored.
When did do you remember at what point in the stream we were? Was it like 2 hours in or 3 hours in? Like hard to.
I don't remember because I'm pretty sure that I was the one that I'd have to
Think.
go back and look, but I was pretty sure I was the one that brought it to your attention that she had been killed.
No, but again, like we were all working in real time off of what was available, and there was one video that came out where the angle was extremely like obfuscated, so you didn't really get a clear sense of things, but it didn't look great, but it wasn't enough to definitively say one thing or another. And you
Correct,
guys,
but there was already TikToks posted of a different angle,
Wait,
and
if
then
that
they were
was true-
showing ones on Twitter. And to be fair, I am going to be fair to you because I'm not mean. You were streaming, but yet I was doing all of these different social medias, looking at all of these angles and stuff. And when I got on call with you, I was telling you.
Wait, but if that's
And
true, then why wouldn't you
pushed
have?
back,
No,
and
no,
then
no.
I got off a stream with you, and then you were all, "This is why Pup was wrong."
Women, am I right? Oh my goodness. If that was true, then I think you would have linked me the other videos. I think you're remembering this wrong. I think
I tried to.
No. Wait, hang on.
I was linking different stuff.
Wait, hold on. When do we have the conversation?
Oh my god, I don't care. Holy shit. I'm going to rewind and see if he's arguing with some other dipshit. Like, a woman being like, "I'm right, you're wrong," for fucking 30 minutes is not content. Fucking kill me.
6 blue, 6 pink, 1 blue. YouTube, we got Mr. Feeney, Dave, Naughty Pop. Naughty Pop, I apologize.
And then the next day, you're like trying to run over an officer.
Here we
Was in
go.
Voice chat with you.
This is at least the beginning so we can see what it is. But if it keeps being autistic shit, I'm skipping this. Dude, I'm going to like the straight raid convo or something, or I'm going to something else. This is unbearable.
And I told you that all of the things that I was seeing, and then that it was not her trying to run over an officer. And
Oh my god, I don't care. Oh my, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Literally anything else. Save me. Chat, please save me. Save me. Save me. Chat, save me. So, having sex with women is gay. True. Bro, I don't know if I can handle this woman, lol. I don't think I can. She's our spy master. True. She's our Alpha Legion operative. True. It's our traitor in espionage. True. Also, she's busy as fucking real life. True. Is Jen in chat? She's cheating on us. True. They're arguing about how she was right about being murder. I don't give a fuck. Dude, I already did like 2 to 3 weeks on fucking ICE shit. I don't need to do that again. I will kill myself if I have to relitigate ICE shit and have nothing be updated argumentatively except for a liberal or progressive woman crowing about how they were correct. I would rather fucking eat glass. Brent Tucker Tier 1 podcast? Should I? Should I do Brent Tucker Tier 1 podcast, or should I find some fucking Destiny slop to just carry us for 30 minutes to 45 minutes? Anonymous Chatter for 5 says, hey, Booby Bear, can you pull up your latest thumbnail and tell us how many hot wings you put down the day before to get the face out mid-dump? Rude! Oh my god. Fuck you, Anonymous Chatter. Anonymous Chatter, for those of you who don't know, is saying that this thumbnail face that I have right here, which is me arguing with Steven in studio, is actually me taking a spicy poop. I hate you. All right. For real, bro. They're like, what if we made nagging wife into content? Dude, I'll kill myself. Haha, I went from that convo to here, not interested. Also, hello, Connor from the COG. Hi, Jim Baker, my favorite FBI employee. Look at the screen. It says Gen X gifted 5 subs. Based. Yeah. She's a traitor, but she's my favorite traitor. Have you seen Sitch and Adam's YouTube chat emoji of Connor? No, but I'm assuming it's me pooping. Okay, guys. When we lollygag, we lose viewers. So real quick, am I checking out conservatarian special forces bro content, or am I finding Destiny slop? Real quick. Weld QC John says special forces stuff. All right. I'm doing all right, I'm just going to go for it. What's it called again? What's it called again? Tell me. Weld QC John. The fucking the Jerk Off Bros podcast. The bro jobs. What's it called? Where is it? Sorry for the dead air, but I'm looking for it. I'm not listening to the ICE training guy saying that the ICE training's fucked up. We already know. Slop o'clock. Oh my god. I think there's a delay between you and me. Were they on the sidewalk? They weren't on the fucking sidewalk. I'm gonna kill myself. Well, QC John, what's it called? I'll just lose viewers. Dead air. What is it? Commentary on real news? What do you think this is? Tier 1 podcast. Thank you. All right. The Tier 1 podcast. Let's see how dumb our special forces are. Breaching leadership. Life shame foster. Tier 1 podcast. Malibu Fitmax. To forgive or not to forgive. An ambush in Afghanistan, 16 minutes, 44 seconds. Navy SEAL still fighting, Bill Brown. Air Force CCT, Special Operations making the cut with Fred Baker. TBIs, the Battle of Ramadi. Dude, this is all just battle shit. I want current events and news. There's no way I'm going to retain any audience just talking about random military stories. Like, this is cool content. I'm not knocking on the content. The content's fine, but this isn't my content. I thought you were talking about like a Sean Ryan kind of thing, where it's like, we talk about current events and news, but we're former... We ourselves are former military members. But dude, I DM'd Hutch. I said, can I get an invite for the Discord? I want to call in. And he hasn't said anything yet. Ugh. I'm going to kill you. Call another streamer and start a fight. I don't think anybody... I don't see Pisco. I would call Pisco... We just fought Destiny yesterday. I would fight Pisco or I would fight Hutch. Hutch isn't responding to DMs, and I haven't gotten anything from Pisco in a bit. I hate you guys. Okay. All right. I'm going to the YouTube homepage. How about that shit? You know what? Fuck you. We're going to suffer. VFT Valhalla. That's what we were talking about. Valhalla VFT. That's the one that you mentioned that I thought might be cool. Videos. Oh, this guy looks like he has 80 IQ. That's fine. Here we go. Here's some current events. Here we go. This is content. Now, this is content. This is what I want to do. All right. Coward Navy SEAL breaks Marine veterans protesters' arm. That's perfect. Huge fan of that. Huge fan of Dan Crenshaw getting destroyed in a primary election. 6 U.S. soldiers being dead. I want to see them bitch about it. This is perfect. Thank you. This is what I wanted.
Turn politicians and then complete narcissistic, detached weirdos. Now, I served with Tim Sheehy. I knew him briefly. I always felt like he was super pouty, like you're the head down, kind of everybody owed him something, you know, the silver spoon in mouth, cake eating thing for officers, super disconnected. And
Jen Winkler, thank you for the 5 gifted. Larry Hutchinson, thank you for the $5. What the Bulwark, they have some good new videos. Okay, well, we're doing this. Should I even do an intro? I don't even think we have that much time. Yeah, we're just watching it. We're just rolling into this. This isn't even going to be a segment. I'm just holding the fort down.
I think Dan Crenshaw should be a freaking warning, a red flag example for Sheehy and all other SEALs turned politicians to do some good out there, which you ain't doing shit.
Welcome back to the...
Let's go. Let's listen to the Doom soundtrack while lifting weights and shooting guns. Let's fucking go.
Channel, everybody, and we're actually getting to the video we meant to do first this morning, but we weren't expecting old Christy Noam to get replaced, and that is the absolutely insane viral story from yesterday. I'm sure you guys are already tracking. Yes, that former Marine combat veteran who was thrown out of a congressional hearing extremely violently, having his arm broken in the process because he had the audacity to protest the war in Iran that nobody wants. And what's the most amazing part of the story? Yes, we finally yesterday got rid of that piece of shit Dan Crenshaw, getting those scumbag Navy SEALs out of office, and another one shows up to take his place because another former Navy SEAL congressman is in hot water now for jumping into the altercation to help Capitol Police and ended up breaking this Marine's arm. And the best part about this story is I actually have friends that worked with old Sheehy when he was a SEAL, and they've provided us some clips of what a piece of shit this guy actually is.
I'm worried. I'm worried. I'm worried. Sorry, boss. My first suggestion was just what popped into my head. First, take my money for my apology. You don't need to apologize. If that's well QC John, you do not need to apologize at all, okay? I need to get into the vet bro conservatarian shit. So if this guy is like the perfect mix of current events and news from a vet bro perspective, and he has cringe takes and base takes mixed together that we can criticize, this is actually perfect. So you got us where we need to go. I just wanted a vet that I just wanted a vet who was talking about current events and news. That's what I wanted. I didn't want to, because war stories, man, I'll tell you my war stories, or I'll watch war stories during a dedicated segment. But I don't just want to do current events and politics and news 80% of the time and then just drop war stories unexpected on you. I want that to be like a COG community get-together powwow, you know, where it's like a community night or day. I'm just trying to burn out like another 20 minutes. That way we can roll into Valor Reacts. So we're just running out the clock.
Shocker. So let's jump into it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Helps the channel. Follow us on all our new social media platforms. And yeah, let's talk about this. Now, I'm probably not going to be able to show the actual altercation videos because YouTube loves to shut down anything that's got violence in it, especially if it's protesting against this current conflict. But I'm...
Well, I want to see it. Somebody said it was bad and it made them cringe. So if you guys don't want to see, if you don't want to see a Marine get his arm snapped in half, then, you know, don't watch the next 30 seconds. Marine gets arm broken during protest. I want to see that bitch snap.
Stand up as a Marine.
Being a Marine doesn't preclude you from getting arrested.
Stand up for America. No one wants to fight for Israel.
Why are you here? Why are
Hey, you know what? You know what? Good for him. He could have screamed like a bitch. He could have gotten his arm fucking snapped off in a doorway, and he could have gone, ah. But instead, he just goes, huh.
Wants to fight for Israel.
Oh.
Why are you here? Why are you getting arrested?
Free Palestine, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. Palestine will be free.
Oh my God, they broke his arm. Oh.
Dude, his fucking arm is snapped off. And this bitch is like, it doesn't even faze him. Okay, hold up. Let me give you my real opinion on this shit real quick. Okay, I think showing up to protest in your uniform is cringe. All right, you are prohibited while you're in service to wear any kind of uniform and make political statements on social media or in public because it looks like you're speaking with the authority of the military institution of which you are a part. And I think even as a veteran, I would carry that energy forward where I would say, don't wear the uniform of your service, say what you got to say, right? And you could even put that in your speech. You could say, hey, I'm a war on terror veteran. I think this war is bullshit. Fuck you, right? And I'm totally fine with that. And if you want to say something is so immoral that it overrides your cringe over wearing a uniform, then good for you. I don't think it ever will for me. I don't think I'll ever put on a Marine Corps uniform. I'll never put on my utilities. I'll never put on my actual issued Navy blessed blues or greens and protest something because I'm no longer a part of that institution. So I don't want to speak with the authority of an entire institution. Okay. Does that apply to cops? Yeah. Generally speaking, yeah. This new social media wave of soldiers and cops doing political content in uniform is, number one, it's cringe. Number two, oftentimes it violates departmental policy. So it's oftentimes a matter of time before, especially if like the police department is visible or if the nameplate is visible, it's oftentimes a matter of time before those cops get caught and jammed up and written up for social media policy violations. Same thing with soldiers. So yeah, I mean, I say what you got to say. Don't invoke the power of the institution in order to say what you got to say. And all of that being said, though, while I do find protesting it cringe and saying, oh, we don't want to die for Israel and we don't want to do this and we don't want to do that and blah, 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 blah. Maybe he views it as so morally immediate that he needs to protest. I'll tell you, I probably don't like this guy. I probably think this guy is a douche. I probably think this guy is invoking his rank in order to protest, which is a douche move. Do you know what I'm going to applaud about him? Do you know what I'm going to applaud regardless of whether or not I like him on a personal level? This motherfucker got his hand snapped in a fucking doorway and he didn't make a peep. That's a Marine, bro. I think I've told you this before. Marine Corps boot camp doesn't teach you how to kick ass. it teaches you how to get your ass kicked and ask for seconds. So the fact that this guy's representing himself as a Marine, gets his arm snapped off in a doorway, and doesn't cry, yeah, I don't have to like him. I don't have to like what he's doing. I don't have to like what he's doing in the uniform. That's a fucking Marine. And that part's based. Let's pause that. Let's go back. Not that one. Boom.
I'm sure you guys have seen it. We'll use some still frames. We'll talk about it a little bit. So this is the main clip that went viral. I'm not going to play it with sound because that'll automatically flag the algorithm. As you can see right here, this is a Senator Sheehy who decides to step in. And here's the moment you can see his arm is caught in this door and his arm is snapped in half, literally. And second clip here, you can see as he's being drug out. Okay, let's talk about this. First thing I want to make very, very...
Okay, first thing I want to make very, very, very clear. A Marine, if you're protesting and you're going to get arrested, if you're going to get arrested, it should take 2 or 3 cops to arrest you, right? If you're like, I'm going to go do some civil disobedience and I know I'm getting arrested, based for making it not violent, he's not fist fighting them, but based on him for resisting so much that more than one cop needs to put their hands on him in order to get him to comply. Like, you guys have to understand, between like cop and Marine right now, I have 2 competing thoughts. I have comply with law enforcement so you don't get hurt. That's my cop brain. But my Marine brain is saying, if you're not going to comply with law enforcement, don't be a pussy about it.
Very clear to everyone. Anyone, especially global war on terror combat veterans, have the right to protest against another regime change war in the Middle East. And on top of that, any veteran who fought in any war and conflict has the ultimate authority and right to protest yet another war. If you went out and fought the wars previously, you 1000% are the subject matter expert on what war is, and thus you probably should be listened to by the general populace about it. Now, what makes this story interesting is the Marine in question here is actually running for Congress in North Carolina. So yes, Brian McGinnis, actually turns out he's running for Senate with the Green Party, as it says here, veteran U.S. firefighter, father of 4, healthcare is a human right.
Firefighter? That's cool too. Okay. Yeah, also a firefighter. That's cool.
Veteran U.S. firefighter, father of 4, healthcare is a human right, people over profits. And so what's interesting, yesterday, as I was sitting in the dentist chair and my phone started to blow up, vibrating nonstop, I knew something had happened, and when I finally could get to it, saw these viral clips everybody was sending me.
Bud123 says, could this guy sue them for snapping his arm? No. No. If you're resisting arrest and you get injured while you're resisting arrest, generally speaking, that's going to fall on you. Now, he could sue. He could sue whatever jurisdiction that is, and they might settle with him just because the cops and everybody yanking on him should have realized that his arm was trapped, which resulted in the arm break. So if he's sued for something reasonable, like $50K, $100K or something like that, the city might settle for like the medical bills just so they don't have to go to court. But realistically, no. They could also go to court and tell him, no, you were disrupting a public process, you were trespass, you were told to leave, you were resisting arrest, you were screaming, and so as a result, you getting injured is on you. It really depends on whether or not the jurisdiction, the municipality, whether or not they want to settle a suit or whether or not they want to go to court. Because going to court is going to be more expensive than just settling.
I went and actually found Brian, and he had about 15,000 subscribers at the time, about an hour after this happened. And it turns out, as of a couple hours ago, Brian now has 327,000 followers.
Damn. I need to go protest in my uniform and get my fucking shit broken. That turns out the secret to clout is protesting in your uniform and then getting your fucking shit kicked in, but not being a pussy about it. Nice. Nice.
On Instagram. So, yes, I don't know everything he believes in, but from what I can see, seems like a pretty good man. Firefighter, father of 4, healthcare is a human right, all the things. He seems like a very empathetic type of man. Obviously very anti against this war, just like the vast majority of global war on terror veterans are. Now, let's talk about old Navy SEAL.
Yeah, as soon as he didn't Yelp, you went a little gay for him. You're not wrong.
Senator Tim Sheehy. Now, why might he have wanted to shut down and shut up another global war on terror veteran from protesting this conflict? It's so hard to... Oh, this is why. Oh, that's right, another Navy SEAL congressman who loves that APAC money, baby. Now, again, the best part about this whole
problem
story is that, well, why don't we listen to our friend Jimmy Watson, who also a former Navy SEAL, and see what he had to say.
All right, hold on. Bad Habit Trek 6474 says, it's crazy to see Alex Jones and Nick flip like this. What do you think is going to happen to their fan base? I know you're behind in the video, but that's totally fine. What's going to happen to their fan base? I think they're just going to be more hardcore. They're going to lose. What's going to happen is probably 10 or 20% of people who just want constant apologia for the Trump administration are going to, like, slough off of their fan base. But the remaining people are going to be looking for a more hardcore leader. In reference to Alex Jones, it's going to be like a conservatarian. They're going to be looking for somebody who, like, restores the constitutional republic of the United States against the enemies of the deep state. For Nick Fuentes, it's going to be like, we want an American Hitler, you know?
Just broke the hand of a Marine. U.S. Senator just broke the hand of a Marine. You're a coward.
Hold on.
What he had to say.
U.S. Senator just broke the hand of a Marine. U.S.
Best.
Senator just broke the hand of a Marine. You're a coward.
Oh, and then we got Anthony Aguilar here, who just called him a coward punk bitch to his face. And of course, that old chubby boy, Tim, have anything to say back? Nah, because he's a coward. We'll see more of that.
Okay, hold up. This is bullshit. Okay, this motherfucker helps cops break a dude's hand, and you're calling him a pussy for not stepping to a motherfucker talking shit to his face? This is where, like, we actually have to be nuanced about this, okay? I talk a lot of shit about how I want to get into fights and how I'm going to have Ruth, a DGGer, who I'm going to teach guns. I want to go spar with him. And if you got problems, come to Orlando and we'll hash it out the good old-fashioned way. Realistically, somebody's going to punch me in the fucking neck and my vertebrae is going to explode and I'm going to die, okay? I'm not going to be, if somebody is a professional and has something to lose and they try to assist law enforcement effect an arrest, but then they have the discipline to walk away from somebody talking shit to them, that is what you should do. You should be above people talking shit, starting a fist fight. You should be able to walk away without it bruising your ego. You should be well-mannered and emotionally stable. I think I'm just tired. I'm just tired of people constantly feeling like they can talk shit and get away with it. And I know that simple mattery is a misdemeanor. And also, sometimes I just want to go to bed. So there's a part of me that that thinks that, you know, 2 hots in a cot in the 33rd Street jail for, like, you know, 72 hours until I post bond, and then I go to jail, and then I get hit with a fucking misdemeanor. That doesn't sound too bad. So, like, but at the same time, he's a senator. He has something to lose. If he breaks a Marine's arm and then fist fights a constituent, not only is he potentially losing his power and his money, but he's also potentially losing, you know, clout, influence, money, power, all that kind of shit. He has something to lose. I don't really have that much to lose by 48 to 72 hours in the you know, city jail or the county jail. My job is pretty chill. So, anyways, prison minus the rape. No, plus the rape. You know, but I'm not a bottom. I'm kidding. It's a joke. I'm not going to homosexually rape people. Joke. Promise it's a joke. Oh my God. Anonymous Chatter says, if you want to stroke out, check out Professor Zhang. Is that the guy who was predicting that Iran's going to win the war? Oh my God. Larry Hutchinson, good to see you again, King. $2. New jobs report is out. We lost 90K jobs. Yeah, it's the Trump golden age. Okay. Okay, yes. I promise I won't homosexually rape people. All right, anyways, continuing.
And as Anthony said there, that's why you got kicked out of the military, fat ass. Don't know if that's true, but maybe it is. Let's listen to Jimmy.
Senator Tim Sheehy, former Navy SEAL whom I served with in the same command, okay, did he break homie's arm? Don't know how much of a role he played in actually breaking his arm, but what the hell is he doing jumping in there? And what's up with all these freaking SEALs turned politicians and then complete narcissistic, detached weirdos? Now, I served with Tim.
Larry Hutchinson says, economy is tanking. Here's $2 additional. Thank you.
Sheehy, I knew him briefly. I always felt like he was super pouty, like you're the head down, kind of everybody owed him something, you know, the silver spoon in mouth, cake eating thing for officers, super disconnected. And I think Dan Crenshaw should be a freaking warning, a red flag example for Sheehy and all other SEALs turned politicians to do some good out there, which you ain't doing shit. You ain't doing shit out there but getting money from Israel and just playing the freaking game. You're playing the game. And let Dan Crenshaw be a huge warning for you, Sheehy, if you keep on going down this.
Oh, yeah, we hit a goal. Thank you for hitting 2 goals today, even though we're only doing like a half show.
Bro, God, I hope you do a big turnaround because you guys are freaking disconnected narcissists. I'm telling you. I'm just telling you how it is.
So, yes, turns out he's not.
Somebody said geopolitical development. Japan might get involved because they get a lot of their oil from the Middle East and North Africa. And then so who says it? Thomas Dudley says last time Japan had their oil cut off, it escalated. Yeah, don't fuck with Japanese oil, bro. They go a little crazy.
Not just a piece of shit politician, he was a piece of shit on the SEAL teams as well. What a surprise, isn't it?
How tall is this motherfucker, right? Like, obviously he did some gear. He looks in shape. He's probably a little bit younger or my age. You know? He's into guns. He's into fighting, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure this motherfucker would whip my ass. But, like, how is he so confident being like, yeah, I got this random friend who was on the SEALs team and he thought this guy was a pussy. And then he's just like, yeah, this guy's a pussy. Like, listen, man, you might say that about the wrong guy eventually.
And there actually has been word from Anthony Aguilar on the status of Brian. And yeah, it sounds like he's going to have to go into surgery because his arm was literally snapped in half.
Yeah, so we finally did get to hear from a direct family member to know that he will have to have surgery. So his injury is serious.
Be right back. Need to use the restroom one more time.
Serious, and I want to remind everyone that this injury was specifically the cause of Senator Tim Sheehy getting involved and interfering and driving his body in a pile driver move into Brian, which is the cause of his broken arm. And he's hurt bad. And as a firefighter who relies on his physical capability, he's going to be out of work for a while. The surgery to repair his arm is not going to be a fast recovery.
So let me give you guys my take on this, my opinions about this entire debacle, all right? First things first, Brian obviously is very anti against the war in Iran. I don't know everything that he believes in, just obviously came across him like we all did, but I'm 100% on board with that sentiment, just like the vast majority of Americans are as well. Second thing, you're going to see a lot of people talking about this. This is usually a very controversial issue, and that is veterans making the decision to do things like this politically, wearing their uniforms. Now, I've been somebody pretty much all the time in the past where I'm very, very against this. You will never see me wearing dress blues. You will never see me wearing honestly, I'll never wear my military uniform probably ever again in general because I'm a veteran now. And so I don't like this typically. However, I started thinking about it this morning and I came to the realization of, unfortunately, times have changed. And what I mean by that is, well, traditional protesting is not working. This administration...
Eric Dom says, I'm an hour and a half behind, but just to have it said, I like the reaction to Alex Jones and Fuentes. Thank you, Eric Dom. I appreciate you, King. whenever you bump into this.
Administration does not give a about what any Americans think. I mean, it's the most politically unpopular thing that's pretty much happened in recent American politics, and yet they don't care. They're going to continue doing this regardless. And so when I think of it that way, I started to think about this. Well, what if Brian had been wearing a traditional pair of slacks and a polo? No way to tell who he was or if he was a Marine. Would this clip have gone?
I figured. Conservatism says, Connor, you missed it. He agreed with your uniform take. Yeah, so I'm going to reiterate it real quick, even though I said it, he said it, and I'm about to say it again. You really have to believe that what you're doing is worth it in order to violate that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, I'm proud of being a Marine. It's a 250-year-old institution. It's fought for the Republic the entire time. There's plenty of fucked up shit that Marines were involved in, including some war crimes. But war crimes aren't war crimes unless if you're having a good time. And so the Marine Corps is like a really interesting, fucked up institution that I think the United States needs. I think the United States needs its pit bulls. It needs its warriors. It needs its violence in a bottle. And I think the Marine Corps provides that. But to take on 250 years of history, wear it on your body as a prop to say, I was a member of this institution that exports violence to the rest of the world, and I think that this exporting of violence is wrong, you could be totally right. But I think that you're taking all that history onto your shoulders, and you as an individual don't really have the right to do so. Now, you could feel different about that. So, like I said, I was a pogue, man. I didn't kill anybody. So, not yet anyways. So, since I'm a pogue, I haven't killed anybody, and I lost most of my friends due to overdoses and suicides. I don't think I've had a single friend who died in combat. I think all of my friends have died from suicides and drug overdoses. And so for me, yeah, that kind of weighs on me a bit. But at the same time, I would never tell the government that they're not allowed to prosecute wars that are to America's benefit. And I would never tell the warriors that I speak on their behalf. And I think it takes like a certain kind of balls to say, I was a warrior and this is what warriors think. I think that's kind of fucking silly. But maybe for the right cause, I could overcome my own cringe, but I can't think of an example right now.
Gone viral like it did? And the answer is no. It would have hit the media for a couple hours, and then it would have washed away, and nobody would have ever talked about it again. But what we saw was a Marine, a combat veteran.
Conservatism says to America's benefit is subjective, though, right? Yeah, but I think that, unironically, getting access to the entirety of the world's oil stockpile is clearly to America's benefit. Material benefit. Maybe not spiritual benefit, but material benefit, clearly.
Marine in full Marine military dress uniform, and that image becomes very visceral to everyone. It becomes extremely emotional for most people who are watching that. Watching a combat veteran Marine scream, "No more dead soldiers in the Middle East," well, we wouldn't have got that otherwise. And so in this case, it actually became very important that he did this in his.
Yep. Yeah, I want to criticize this guy because I think he's a fight me bro. Shit, I'm a fight me bro. So, you know, I guess it is what it is. But, yeah, I'm with his take.
Dress uniform. And so while typically I wouldn't normally think that this is the, smart traditional thing to do, we're not in normal times anymore. And so what this does is actually creates a viral, visceral clip that the entirety of America is going to see, and maybe that actually will start to sway public opinion in the correct direction. Because even though by polling only 20% of Americans support this war, that's still like, what, 70-something million people? And for old tough guy Navy SEAL Senator Sheehy, who of course didn't jump in right away, he waited until the guy was completely held control of by Capitol Police, so that way he could then jump in to look like the tough guy, because of course that's what fake tough guys do. He also is responsible for his arm being broken, and he should most likely be charged with assault, because guess what? You're not a fucking police officer, and that's not your job. But again,
Nah, fuck off. bullshit. So if there's a situation that's unfolding and you assist law enforcement in detaining someone, there is like a concept such as citizen's arrest, and you can operate on good faith. Now, you're taking an extreme amount of liability, because actually this is an important thing, that he could sue law enforcement, and like I said, it could be dismissed, or they could just settle it in order to avoid court. This guy, if he had his hands on the Marine at the time that his arm was snapped, he 100% could sue the senator in private court and be like, because you don't have that liability protection because you're not a law enforcement officer. But obviously courts will side with you if you use your judgment in order to do something correct. Just as an example, let's say there's a mass shooter and he's like blasting into a crowd, and you as a private citizen run up and tackle him from behind, and you slam his teeth into a curb and he breaks his teeth. Well, that guy could sue you for hurting him because you don't have the protections of law enforcement. You physically attacked somebody, which is battery, and it resulted in injury. Now, what's going to happen is that case is probably going to get dismissed because they're going to say, oh, well, this guy was engaged in a criminal act. He's suing this guy just because he's not technically legally prohibited from doing so. So you would still need to get a lawyer. You would still need to go to the courts. You would still need to get a judge to dismiss it. And if it made it past the first judge for whatever reason, because the judge is like, oh yeah, technically you did hurt this guy, so you're liable for his injuries because you don't have liability, I'm going to let this case go forward, then you would still possibly have to pay, money. Now, I would expect, like with the jury trial, they would be like, this is a mass shooter, who gives a fuck? But obviously, as the crime seriousness drops down, you're going to be facing increased scrutiny and potential liability. So, for instance, let's say that you did that to a shoplifter. There was somebody who was shoplifting. The store owner is like, hey, that guy just stole a Snickers. And then you football tackle that guy. You land him on a curb and he's fucking paralyzed. There's a strong chance that you're getting sued aggressively. And a jury might even find against you, right? So, yeah. What else was I thinking? Bop, 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 bop. Ba-da-bop, bop, 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 bop. Yeah, but this whole instinct that you would just intervene on law enforcement's behalf and then instantaneously be arrested for battery, that's obviously horseshit.
He needed a new fake tough guy Navy SEAL to step in the breach to take Dan Crenshaw's place. And so I hope this goes viral and all of America sees this so that you can get a better understanding of how most global war combat veterans actually feel about this fucking atrocity bullshit.
Well, see, and this is what I don't like about this guy now. He says most combat veterans. What, you and your fucking circle jerk fucking drinking circle, you represent all combat veterans? Get the fuck out of here. You don't know how most people feel. And you also don't know how most active duty feels. Most active duty might be like, fuck yeah, let's get some. So, yeah, it's kind of cringe in my opinion. Let's take a look at this real quick before we shut down. Dan saying he's ready. Who is the Navy SEAL congressman that broke the arm of the Marine? Tim Sheehy? Montana Republican Senator Tim Sheehy. Tim Sheehy, Republican Senator service record. Maybe he has a wiki. Tim Sheehy. Sorry for yawning. After high school, Tim Sheehy went to the U.S. Naval Academy, graduated with a bachelor's degree in 2008. He was a Navy SEAL. He later attended Army Ranger School. During his military career, Sheehy did tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, South America, and the Pacific region. This is what I don't like when you say, oh, he's a fake tough guy. No, he's a tough guy, okay? If you're going to pass BUDS, if you're going to pass the Ranger School, if you're going to deploy to Iraq, Afghanistan, South America, and the Pacific, you are a tough guy. Okay. Stolen Valor Sheehy? How? In 2015, a park ranger cited Sheehy for discharging a firearm in Glacier National Park. That makes me like him more. Sheehy wrote in a statement, while reloading our vehicle, an improperly placed firearm kept in the vehicle for bear protection fell out and discharged into my right forearm. But in his 2023 memoir, he wrote that a bullet had lodged in his arm during a 2012 Afghan fight. Sheehy told the Washington Post that he made up the story about the gun going off to protect himself and his former platoon mates from facing a potential military investigation into an old bullet wound that he said he got in Afghanistan in 2012. He said he did not report the incident. Okay, yeah, that's silly. He did not report the incident at the time to protect his unit's members because he suspected it was from friendly fire. In 2015, Sheehy was awarded a Brown Star with Valor and a Purple Heart. Montana Congressman Ryan Zinke performed the ceremony, pinning the medals. She has said that he was questioned whether or not he was shot in Afghanistan is tantamount to falsely accusing him of stolen valor, but he has declined to release his medical records and said there are no records showing he was shot in Afghanistan. Okay, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? I don't give a shit. Anyways, Sacred Snow says he said most GWAT vets multiple times. Maybe he's referring to some kind of polling. Maybe. Or maybe he's just like me. Maybe he operates off of vibes. This is a well that I would go back to. If I have a Brown Star based. If you guys wanted to go back into conservatarian vet bro coverage of news and current events and kind of criticize it, I would love to do that. Because number one, I would love to milk conservatarian vet bros. Number two, if they say dumb shit, it's the kind of stuff that I do want to criticize. Because I like these guys, okay? I like conservatarian vet bros, but just like me, they're insanely confident about shit they barely know about, okay? So using my insane confidence and half-decent knowledge of the world, I would love to criticize people who were hardcore trigger-pulling motherfuckers who know how to lift weights, shoot guns, CQB, took skulls, cut scalps, slit throats, some of the baddest motherfuckers on the planet, but they don't know shit about geopolitics. You know what I'm saying? That would actually be, I like that as content. That sounds great. He's got the who's on first of pronouns. Ass last name. Oh, the she, he. Valhalla thinks he passed because Q course and did 2 tours and got a Bronze Star with a V, that he gets to decide who is a tough guy similar to other SF dudes. Cool. You're a tough guy. I'm not going to shit on your toughness, but you don't get to decide who else is tough, particularly when you're talking about a Navy SEAL who passed the Ranger school, who deployed like 5 different times. You know what I'm saying? You don't get to say that guy's not tough. That was like fucking the Secretary of War saying that Mark Kelly is a fake tough guy. He's not a fake tough guy. He's a real tough guy. He's a naval aviator and a fucking astronaut. You fucking retard. Sorry for the ableist slur, but that was seriously some of the dumbest shit. A citizen police officer for APAC? Best. That's the definition of a fake tough guy, by the way. What is? A motherfucker who is a Navy SEAL who gets deployed multiple times? What are you talking about? Oh my God. Yeah, we'll add some milking. We'll milk some vet bro content for sure. Call into the actual podcast? I would if they do call-ins. I'm down for you to critique them more than dunk on them instead of you shitting on us. Okay. Fair. What? You mean Buds? What about Buds? Navy passed for the Ranger School? Lol. No, dude. You missed out. What's that guy's name? Sheehy Senator? So he was a Navy SEAL and he passed Buds, but he also went to the Ranger School. Branches go to Ranger School. Different branches go to Ranger School. Where is it? After high school, Sheehy attended the U.S. Naval Academy, graduated with a bachelor's degree in history in 2008. He was a Navy SEAL. He later attended the Army Ranger School. I'm presuming he passed as well. So, yeah, different branches go to the Ranger School. There's 2 things, okay? I think there's Ranger Assessment and Selection Process, RASP, which is selection for the Ranger Battalion. So you go to the 75th Ranger Regiment and you are a Ranger. But then Ranger School is like a survival army leadership school. And so you get a Ranger tab if you pass that school. And so a lot of Army guys fight because 75th Ranger Regiment people don't think that people who pass Ranger School should ever call themselves Rangers. You passed Ranger School, but you're not a Ranger, right? Call into the actual podcast. Lying about combat wounds is a fake tough guy shit. All right. Go fist fight him then. Go call that guy a pussy to his face and fist fight him. Sacred Snow says, no, Connor, call your podcast with Hardcore Vet Bros the Actually podcast because you're the Pogue. Actually and the hardcore guys over politics. I'd do that. I don't know how many vet bros we would get in, but yeah, that'd be sick. Actually. That's funny. All right. Anyways, I gotta go. I'm gonna be switching over to Twitch. Dan says he's available and ready, so give me 5 minutes. I know I hit the head like 3 times today, but I've been pounding water and all that jazz. So let me, I'll see you on Twitch in 5 minutes. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them. Let me shout out all the people who donated real quick. I want to thank them for supporting the channel because I think we surpassed 2 goals today. So let me go full screen and thank the people who helped out. And by the way, go to twitch.tv or twitch.com, type in Counterpoints. There should be a blue logo with gold. And I'll be live there in the next 5 to 10 minutes. And we're going to be reviewing the movie Black Hawk Down. And we're probably going to get through 5 minutes of content. And we're going to talk for an hour. It'll be fun. So Larry Hutchinson, Anonymous Chatter, Well QC John, Larry Hutchinson, Jen Winkler with the 5 gifted, Anonymous Chatter, Real Serious, Skillful Dunce, Fell Runner, Vazraka with the gifted, Tom Fultz with the membership, Jen Winkler with the $10. Who is this? I can't see their name. What is their name? Hedonic Samuel with 2 chips to get us to beat our first goal. Thank you. Well QC John with the 20. Silver with the 2. I think that's Anonymous again with the 2. Riddell with the 10. Jeb Cush with the 5. Larry Hutchinson with the 10. Larry Hutchinson with the 5 gifted, man. Thanks for being generous today. I do appreciate it. And then Sapient Green with the 50 DKK and Justin with the 2. Thank you, kings and queens. I'm going to hit the head. I'm going to grab some water. I'll be right back.